Welcome everyone. We continue with the Kart Rider Drift League tonight as we have a team match and a solo match that awaits us. It's going to be the lower bracket semifinals for the team match first, and then of course the final part of the round of 16 in the solos. My name is William Cho, joined by Wolf tonight, and it should be a really good night of some Kart Rider.
Yeah, that's right. And the winner, of course, of our lower bracket semifinals will go on to face Live Sandbox. The winner of that will advance to the finals. Kwangdong Freaks are already waiting there. They did win the winners match 2-0. We're doing a best-of-7 format again here for playoffs for Team League, so a little bit longer than what you're used to, but we're going to definitely find out which one of these two teams tonight deserves to move on.
Yeah, and when we had the regular season kind of wrap up, we were predicting, okay, I mean, still anything could happen. A lot of these teams look like they have a shot of trying to climb up. Of course, Kwangdong Free still trying to defend their title, but it's not really a clear-cut match tonight on who might move on to meet Live Sandbox.
Yeah, it's a really tough one to call. I myself, I'm favoring MIRAEN and SEJONG, and I think they're the stronger team. I think they have the stronger roster, but ROX, on the other hand, looks like a very strong contender as well.
Yeah, let's take a look at the bracket to really break it down for you. So as we just mentioned, of course, we start with the wild card match, which was going to be between 4th and 5th, and MIRAEN and SEJONG, they prove once again that, okay, they are a pro team with those legendary players. They want to move on in the playoffs. However, they're always going to be playing for their life because they had to start there in the wild card, and they have to move up through the lower bracket as we see tonight, where it continues against Seongnam ROX.
Yeah, this is what the kind of structure I was talking about earlier. Winner faces Live Sandbox, who lost to Kwangdong Freaks in the upper bracket finals. And then the winner of today will, or the winner of that rather, will move on to the finals on December 9th. So very exciting to see who's going to pull ahead. We have a lot of money on the line here as well. If you're tuning in for the first time, 100 million won for first place. Runner-up gets less than half of that, so the difference between first and second is quite significant. But there's still a lot of money to be had. If you can make it to those finals, you can at least guarantee yourself that 40 million, worst case scenario.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it kind of doubles every stage, right, that you move up in the ranks here. So getting to that finals, getting to the grand finals, and then having your shot to really go for the big pot at the end of the season. And of course, I think perhaps to these players, what matters more than the prize money is going to be that elusive first title, right, of the KDL. We are in our first official season, and oh wow, okay, I mean, we were talking about this, Wolf, before, and we thought, okay, MIRAEN and SEJONG probably favored, but I did not think it would be this one-sided.
Yeah, I really didn't think it would be this one-sided either. I was expecting more along the lines of 60-40, maybe 55-45 for MIRAEN and SEJONG, but actually taking 78, nearly 80% of the vote here. And then when you move down to the final match predictions here for the solos, you can see HoJun's percentage has actually dropped down quite substantially because he's normally hovering around 60%. He's the emperor, the goat of Kart Rider, but he has struggled a little bit as of late, so a lot of more votes going to SUNGBIN actually in this one. HyunSu as well pulling up 14.5.
Yeah, I mean, I think HoJun having that 20% still, that just goes to show just how much faith a lot of fans have in him. Obviously, he's been playing Kart Rider the longest here out of anyone in the KDL. I mean, he's been a coach, he's been a player, he's set so many records. However, it's a really tough lineup. I mean, you look at it, there's SUNGBIN, HyunSu, but then there's Luning, who won preseason 2. He's coming in, he's trying to reclaim that throne. And of course, the other players as well, they're really starting to come into their own, both in solos and team matches. So curious to see which final 4 players will be moving on to the final 8 in the solos.
Yeah, we didn't see a lot of people have faith in JiMin and AcidFly actually in that losers match, but they really came up big. AcidFly racing out of his mind, one of his best nights he's ever had in his career. So looking forward to him. We've seen the rise of BBoong recently as well, who's playing a lot more consistently. And yeah, I mean, when you look at some of the legends that are in this group, you might expect them to go through just by name alone, but I think we could definitely see some upsets tonight. I think someone like BBoong, someone like AcidFly, has a pretty good chance of making it through, actually, just given the shakeups we've seen recently and HoJun's current form.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And again, I mean, you know, you get a first place, you can really start to flip the board a little bit. Obviously, it's still in play that you could get 3 first places in a row and try to end the entire race early here until the round of 16. So lots of options here for our solo players. And something else to consider, quite frankly, is players like BBoong, like AcidFly, HoJun, they're going to have to actually play the team match first tonight, and then they have to grind their way in through the finals of the solo match round of 16 as well. So see if they have the endurance to bear all that.
Yeah, it is a very different skill set playing team matches versus playing solos as well. You're not playing for anyone but yourself when you're playing in that solo match, and we have several teammates here as well from Live Sandbox battling against each other here as well. So, you know, you're playing against your teammates, but you're playing for yourself. And we're going to jump straight in now, though, to the pick and bans for speed. We'll do item following this. ROX does have speed priority here, so they have first choice.
Yeah, we'll see how this rounds out. Of course, for anyone tuning in now and you're wondering, oh man, are we starting early today? What if I'm missing it? No, during the playoffs, just because it is a pretty lengthy pick and ban with it being a best of 7, we are going to go through these in the pre-show, and then we'll reset, make sure everyone has a chance to go get some water, get your popcorn, and get ready for the team match, as we do see Seongnam ROX taking us to Mexico Touring Rally first.
Yeah, really interesting to see that one come out first. Now, MSJ loves Handy Harbor. They pick it a lot. It's a very commonly banned track, so if you want to get it, you probably have to get it here in your opportunity to pick before the ban. So we'll see if they want to go for it. A lot of discussion actually being had about this. I think Terracotta Twister, another track that they like to play on that they could pick up here as well. See what it's going to be. It'll be Shanghai Circuit, actually, a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, that is quite shocking, right? Not one that we've seen often picked in first pick at all, and then let alone from MIRAEN and SEJONG as well. As you can see, obviously, they've played it a handful amount of times, but usually not as that first pick. Curious to see what the bans are. Now, if you're Seongnam ROX, you mentioned earlier, Wolf, obviously, Handy Harbor is the one that MSJ likes a lot, but on top of that, there's Glacier Extreme Stadium as well. So I think 2 tracks that are in high contention for a ban here.
Absolutely. Miami Drive, actually, to be taken away. One of our newer tracks here in the KDL. Does have a lot of variance, especially if you get knocked away from some of those boost pads. It can be pretty catastrophic for your team. It can mess up your midfield. Unsurprising, there's the Handy Harbor ban. I mean, MIRAEN and SEJONG are so good at this track, and it's a really complex one, very unforgiving.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Extreme Stadium still makes its return here, as we see just WKC circuits really lining up the best of 7 here so far. Mexico all the way through into round 3 now, moving on to the next pick. So we'll see what it's going to be from MSJ after that Brazil circuit pick. Where do they want to take us? Do they want to take us to something, again, a bit more familiar territory from all the preseasons?
I would expect Terracotta here if I mean, there's a lot of tracks available, right? And we haven't gotten to those final bans just yet, but I think they're very good at it. But Boom Hill Tunnel has also been a favorite of theirs and very popular here this season. Going to take that one, go somewhere they know. They've only played it once. And usually these stats, I think, mean a lot more than solo stats because teams always have draft picks for this. So if you only played it once, it means you've likely avoided it a lot and banned it a lot. So changing things up here, but I think they looked really good on it when they raced on it last time. Undefeated currently.
Yeah, exactly. Now, it does seem that MIRAEN and SEJONG just overall coming into the playoffs, they're really trying to expand their, I guess, repertoire here, but that should work out, better for them. Otherwise, everyone's going to ban out the Handy Harbor, ban out the Extreme Stadium, ban out the Terracotta Twister, so they're really trying to prove that they are willing to race on any track, as we do see Bayside Bridge Run being the second ban here from MSJ.
Yeah, a pretty standard track, but some of the shortcuts can be very annoying in team, and a lot of teams don't prefer to play it for that reason. It can also be a crazy one if it ends up being an ace match track. ROX has the final ban here. Terracotta Twister is what comes to mind for me, but it's been so far ignored in this draft. It will be Glacier, what you were talking about, taking that one away. It's my favorite track right now. Sad to see it go.
Actually, your 2 favorite tracks, Handy Harbor and Extreme Stadium, just being taken out entirely here. So we will have to cast over some of the other tracks tonight, but still quite a few choices left, even in this best of 7. And of course, with it being a best of 7, you have a couple more choices to go through. Construction Chaos will rear its head if we go to that round 5 here.
Yeah, notice that ROX is 2-0 on it, 2 losses for MSJ here. So definitely a strong pick for ROX statistically here in this draft. And I think it's their boldest pick of the 3 so far. WKC tracks are usually pretty forgiving compared to some of our older tracks like Desert Construction Chaos. So this one really going to test the limits of their skill, but they've had success so far. Factory Facility 5, a rare pick to come out here for MIRAEN and SEJONG.
It's an interesting track to pick up in round 6 as well, right? I mean, when you get down that far in a best of 7, you really want to stick to what you know, really go for the reliability. And MIRAEN and SEJONG saying, if it goes that far, we're going to throw a curveball here and take you to a track that you have not raced on so far here in the very first season of the KDL. This, to me, tells us that maybe MIRAEN and SEJONG thinks they can finish it before it gets to Facility 5.
Yeah, I think that's a very good read. I think that's definitely what they're thinking here. We have Terracotta Twister to come in as the 7th track. I was wondering when it was going to appear because you just don't have Kart Rider matches without Terracotta Twister here in the KDL. And the fact that there was a chance that we weren't going to see it at all was almost shocking, but it will come through as the final track if we get to it. I massively favor MSJ in speed. I think ROX's draft there as well, where they prioritize speed and then picked some really forgiving tracks, banned some of the more skilled and high skill ceiling tracks like Glacier, like Handy Harbor, tells me I think they know what they're up against. They know this is going to be a tough matchup in speed. So will we see Terracotta's Whisker? I'm not ready to predict that. For ROX, I'm thinking more item mode is where we're going to see a little bit more potential success.
Okay, all right, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, again, best of 7. If we get down to that track 7, it means it's been a grueling match already. Usually, we have much shorter setups here in that best of 5. So curious to see. Obviously, we joke about the whole nut might score throughout the KDL so far, the 3-2 scoreline. Even that sometimes can feel a bit long. So if it goes down to a 3 versus 3, and then you have to go to that track number 7, curious to see. It's just a matter of who keeps their focus. And then after that, they will have to continue with item mode, which will be going through the picks and bans right now.
So MSJ does have item priority, as speed priority went to ROX, so they'll get to choose here first whatever track they want unprotected by those first 2 bans. And for item here, these are teams that have completely different play styles. I think MSJ is a little bit more go with the flow. They like to play a little bit more tempo based. They do not have an item ace, so they're going to go ahead and pick one of their best tracks here and one of ROX's worst. I mean, this is kind of like game theory for what you would pick first, I suppose. Statistically, Mine Motherlode is where they're heading. Graveyard Dark Castle for ROX, definitely a track that you can have some player error on, but they are fantastic at it, 4-1.
Yeah, and not many teams have preferred that track, as Seongnam ROX being one of the few, or if not the only one that actually enjoys playing on that track. So curious to see how that works out, potentially in their favor as we take a look at the first round of bans. It's going to be Misty Falls being taken out by ROX first, now waiting on MSJ's ban.
Yeah, we'll see what they want to go with here. That Forest Misty Falls, lining up with the Mine Motherlode might lead for ROX to go towards, Seaplane base. That's not surprising. Maybe they ban Mushroom Caves from MSJ if that's what MSJ is looking to lock in here. We might get a hint, but item mode is really different. Teams are changing. The meta is evolving all the time, so it's hard to predict what teams are going to do on the day. A lot of discussion about this before they write it down and send it in. It will be Mushroom Cave, so they get that one before the ban comes through for ROX. These are 2 tracks where you can't just simply, I mean, look at their win rate.
Jeez.
But you can just constantly attack and push ahead and try to get one of your players ahead, and that's the playstyle of MSJ, and it's reflected in this draft here.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, right? MSJ really embodying the fact that tempo play is super viable now, if not preferred, and they have just been shining better and better. A lot of people would look at the player list on this team and think they should be better suited for speed. However, they've been one of the shining beacons in item mode. As we take a look at the next one, it's going to be Polar Half Pipe coming in for Seongnam ROX.
Yeah, Polar Half Pipe, a lot of technical things you can do in the latter part of that track, taking the high ground, which you can even see on the image there on the draft. But see what this ban is going to be here for ROX, because there's still a lot of tracks left that suit MSJ's playstyle. And, I mean, we've taken Shark Wake out of the pool. That'd be one you'd want to take. Magma Cavern, okay, that's
no big surprise.
Unsurprising, yeah.
I mean, just these mine tracks, right, with the narrowness that they have throughout the entire course, it really favors that tempo play. You can have a lot of good AoE setups as well, and MSJ's been shining through and through. I mean, this item mode really showcases that these teams have a preference, right? You're looking at kind of tempo preference from MSJ, and then Seongnam ROX, they're looking for those timing attacks at the very end, go for the wombo combos, which is why we're going to see London Knight being banned out by MIRAEN SEJONG.
Yeah. Next to Glacier Polar Halfpipe, I'd say even more than Glacier Polar Halfpipe, London Knight really leans into that. Clock Tower is still available. That's one where we have seen some stuff like that happen. Maybe that's where ROX is going to go with their final pick. They only get 3 because it is item priority here for MIRAEN SEJONG. I have 2 picks left. Factory Cogwheel Crush as a bit of a rarer one this season. We saw it a lot more in the past. They are 2-0 on it.
Yeah, I mean, this one can go either way in terms of style, right? I wouldn't say this one leans heavily towards either tempo or timing-based attacks, but MIRAEN SEJONG having the confidence that they'll be able to go through it. I mean, this is one of those tracks where you can always rely on that boost towards the end to recover, and we see Venice Gondola Tour coming out here for Seongnam ROX.
They've played it 5 times, so clearly they really prefer this track. And there's Clock Tower Crossing, so kind of in the opposite order as I would have expected these 2 teams to pick these based on what the rest of the draft were looking like thus far, especially if you consider this has never been played by MIRAEN SEJONG this entire season here. But ROX with the Gondola Tour, we've seen some new tech on this track where you can actually interrupt the gondola portion where they actually go into the gondolas with really well-placed water bombs. So maybe they've got something special prepared there. Hard to say.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, and we might not even see those tracks, of course.
True.
Once again, it's going to have best of 7 for both speed and item mode. So the tracks have been set. Now the players and the teams will have some time to make sure that they're prepped for it. They've seen the draft. They're going to get ready for that team match. But of course, that gives us a little time to really review how both of these teams got here, because I think they have very different stories. MIRAEN and SEJONG won that. The story kind of writes itself with the players themselves. Everyone has high expectations. And then Seongnam ROX, they revamped the entire team. People have almost little to no expectation, and now they're already in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's really full expectation super team versus underdog heroes who have the brand name of ROX behind them. Like Seongnam ROX is a huge brand. It's one of the strongest esports teams we've had over the last 10 years. I mean, that name has always kind of popped up. It's been a household name here in Korea. So a formed super team, 4 players versus ROX, who are kind of pulling together some of the better parts of other rosters. And it's really exciting to see these two teams clash. Now, if you take a look at their results here in main stage, MIRAEN SEJONG, very impressive record here.
Yeah, MIRAEN and SEJONG, I mean, the whole round differential they have, despite their overall set differential not being higher, they still have a 14 round differential. So when they win hard. But however, they have had quite a few matches that haven't gone their way either. Of course, most recently, they just won against Desperado in that wildcard, getting a clean 2-0 win. In fact, a 4-0 on that speed mode, really showcasing that they've brushed up on that. However, Seongnam ROX, of course, they've had a bit of a longer break since they secured their place here for the playoffs. Last time they met MIRAEN and SEJONG, it went down to the ace match, and Seongnam ROX did lose in that one.
Yeah, I think it was always that MIRAEN and SEJONG lost to in an ace match that gave them that third loss. Otherwise, as you were mentioning, with their incredibly dominant score lines, they definitely would have actually been ahead of Seongnam ROX. So Seongnam ROX definitely very happy with how that all went down. They beat always themselves. So Seongnam ROX ending up having the better win rate, which goes higher than that final score. You'd see the +10, the +14, 5, and 3, etc. That means more, so that's why they actually had the higher seed. So they had to fight through Desperado. They took the 4-0 there. I've always just myself, though, been much more impressed by MIRAEN and SEJONG as a team, even though their record is worse.
Yeah, it's one of those things where Seongnam ROX, okay, the record is good. However, how many moments can all of us really recall in that they really shined a new light on how KDL is going to run, a new meta, things like that? It just seems like they've been kind of the safer pick amongst all these teams. Of course, taking a look at the last matchup they had, it actually went the full 10 rounds, 3-2 on speed, and then the reverse here on item mode as MIRAEN and SEJONG clawed their way back in. HoJun versus Luning in that ace match. HoJun showcased that he still is that veteran who's going to be able to clutch it up when the team needs it most.
And Luning and HoJun will be playing in solos later on today as well against each other. So there's a lot of storylines in this night of KDL here that are all kind of coming together right now. How will Luning look? He's been on a little bit of a decline. HoJun as well. Will they be the ace players the second time around if we go there? That's not even necessarily something that we know for sure. So there's a lot to discuss if we go the distance, and I think for ROX, it's got to start in speed. You've got to actually have a successful run in speed. Mentality-wise, if you lose it, you know you can fall back to item, but they beat you in item last time anyways, so it is it's a hurdle that they're going to have to cross here. They're the underdogs in terms of the fan vote as well, but nothing is impossible. Here is, of course, the Nutmite score, how many times they went to 5 in speed or item. Nutmite has 8 of them, of course, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, that is actually kind of crazy that they went the full 5 8 times. However, the focus right now, of course, both on Seongnam ROX and MIRAEN and SEJONG. And the biggest thing to note is that when it went to that round 5, neither of these teams have a over 50% win rate, right? They've always been on the losing side more often than not. Now, MIRAEN and SEJONG only 3 times. Okay, maybe we don't count that as much, but Seongnam ROX 5 times is quite often enough, and you've only won 2 out of those 5. So it's been a tough road here for Seongnam ROX.
Yeah, for Seongnam ROX, really struggling a little bit more, and you see the lock-in here is like the opposite of each other, speed into item loss into item win. It's very interesting to see how these have they parallel each other. They both have strengths in both modes. I lean towards MIRAEN and SEJONG being better in speed. ROX has an opportunity in item, I would say, but it's really about form on the day for these two.
Yeah.
You know, if MIRAEN and SEJONG is on, they stomp. That's why they have such a great track differential.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they can do it in speed, they're in even better shape. Now, speed mode, I think a lot of people, if you've been following the season so far, you're looking forward to this because these two players, Luning and Hero, they have been tearing it up regardless of team record.
Yeah. Hero may be the one that they choose for the ace if it does come down to it today instead of HoJun, given the history you know, these two players have. Yeah, HoJun won last time, but Hero looking maybe he's the better player at the moment. But they have quite a history. You can see the stats here from preseason 2, from Aura, in fact, some of those players moving into ROX. So let's see if it ends up happening. It will be a battle on the track in speed, regardless. Not a 1v1 necessarily, but of course racing for getting control off the start and getting that 3v1 that has been so common right now for our best teams in speed.
Yeah, I mean, look at these guys here in the 2023 KDL at the bottom of the screen, right? Both of them getting first place, but 12 and 11 times. They hold the first and second place in terms of overall average rank. So these are the racers that both teams are looking to put into first place, secure those 10 points, and then figure out what other combination you want. Funnily enough, I mean, MIRAEN and SEJONG, oftentimes when they're winning, it's not just with a 1-2, it's like a 1-2-3. They really just want to dominate if they do win in speed mode. Whereas Seongnam ROX, they've had a couple other options thanks to some of the flexibility they have in their racers.
Yeah. This is just a focal point on some of the players to watch in speed, but we're going to be talking about item as well, where things change up quite significantly for these two squads, and we'll show you guys exactly who has the most first place finishes here in Team Item. Interestingly enough, it's Hero who's usually the one to cross the finish line.
Yeah, and I think this again shows that MIRAEN and SEJONG, they really like that tempo play. Get Hero in first place, have him just defend, defend, defend. Everyone else is just pumping out attacks. And if Hero does fall, oftentimes it looks like it's going to be Nok who is taking up the mantle afterwards. HoJun really just playing that role of the captain who's trying to make sure they have a plan. But it's quite obvious from this. The plan is get Hero into first place, everyone else just distract the opponents as much as you can.
And Navi did have that really impressive tempo win where he was able to get 13 back-to-back shields to get his way in there in match 23.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it's a much more even spread for the side of ROX. 5 wins for Navi, 5 for Lens, 5 for BBoong. Luning only with the 1. Well, that's quite common for the speed type player that Luning is, to not be the one who's getting first. He plays a more supportive role in item.
Yeah, I mean, that way you can also just, if you get that kind of wombo combo item, you just hold on to it, make sure you're waiting for a timing, wait for Lens's call, who is going to be that item ace on Seongnam ROX. And I like that you mentioned that. It's spread out because it really just comes down to Lens making that call of, okay, we have this combination of items. This time it's going to be you. It's going to be BBoong who crosses the finish line. It's going to be me. It's going to be Navi. Whereas MSJ, if they don't have the lead by the time they enter lap 3, they've probably already lost the race. I mean, that's the story here for MIRAEN and SEJONG's item mode.
Yeah, that's definitely true. See the parallel if you're new to kart rider professional play between Luning and HoJun, who play the same role in speed, but then are never really the finishers on their team here because they're playing that more supportive role. Their driving skills mean less in item because it's a lot more about strategy, timing. So they often end up being players who sit around 4th place and just add support, shooting rockets and water bombs at the leader, or they just hold on to angels and sit at the back. So a lot of different ways you can approach this. I think Nok is very good at item. I'm actually surprised to see, because we didn't see the stats until, just a few moments ago, that he actually only has 6 compared to Heroes. Heroes just really been pulling his weight this season.
Yeah, just been that consistent, reliable racer. And that's what he does best, right? Is just going by the track, going for those time trials, even in item mode, just getting as much use as you can from those instant boosts, from some of the other defensive items. Just make sure you're focusing on the track itself rather than attacks and defense. So we're very, very curious to see how that pans out. Now, the overall key racer, though, sure, earlier we did see Luning versus Hero, but at the end of the day, it's going to be HoJun that the spotlight is on for MIRAEN and SEJONG.
Yeah, notice in that win against Luning in the ace match, he kept his heart rate under 100 beats per minute throughout that entire race. You watch a lot of other racers, they're sitting at 160, 170, 180. It's quite common because it's very tense. You make one mistake and that's it, your entire team lost because you took that turn, you took that line too narrow, you end up bumping into the wall and everything is over. So it's a very stressful thing. HoJun, he's like, I've done this a million times. So, for him, he's very confident. But again, it might be Hero instead of him today. I think there's a pretty good chance if we go the distance that it is.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, MIRAEN and SEJONG, all of them have played in the ace matches before, and it does seem they often want to give Hero more of that chance, but there are just some days where Hero just seems he's not in the zone, or he's not focused, or he's a little shaken up because of 1 or 2 tracks earlier in the team aspect of it, so sometimes they'll bring out the veteran HoJun. But whoever it is, I think we can rely on the fact that if it gets there, Seongnam ROX probably sending out Luning.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet at this point. I mean, BBoong has really improved a lot.
Yes.
But I don't know if tonight is the night. If we take a look at the team predictions here, actually Nutmite and Desperado expecting ROX to go. A 2-0 for Nutmite, Desperado going for the ace match win for ROX, which is, you know, bold, but it's Luning potentially. Whereas more teams, you know, a majority of the teams going for the MSJ win, Sandbox and Finale saying 2-0, Kwangdong Freaks and always expecting it to be an ace match win.
Yeah, I do find it interesting. Kwangdong Freaks, their only loss is actually to Seongnam ROX, and they're like, well, no, that was just a fluke. It's still going to be MIRAEN and SEJONG. We still think they're the stronger team, so we'll have to see how that pans out. But I think the team's kind of siding the same way that a lot of the fans are. I mean, sure, you can see a world where Seongnam ROX is winning, but it's very much more likely that MIRAEN and SEJONG is going to win tonight's match.
We had a huge stomp between MSJ and Desperado in that wildcard match, but that was everyone expected that. At least I think that was my take from who I talked to. Everyone expected that was going to be a stomp. But this one, you give the edge to MSJ, but you don't walk into today thinking, oh, it's going to be another stomp. They're going to get crushed like Desperado. I don't think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if we saw a 4-0 scoreline in either mode to begin with, right? So that already extends the overall match a bit. And sure, at that point, if it's a 4-1, 4-2, it might seem like it's a bit one-sided score-wise, but you really have to look at the details between these two teams, especially in something like speed mode, where it could just mean, you know, one or two racers not swapping those spots. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the stage is set. The picks and bans are ready to go. Now we will just give a little bit more time for the players to really get in the zone as they are now facing the lower bracket semifinals here in the very first season of the KDL team matches. We'll return with the match right after this break.
Fifth place right now. We have a tight-knit group as we move into the second lap.
Yeah, we, again, have a lot of racers that are kind of close to the bottom of the pack in terms of overall standing. This is his track of choice, and I gotta say, he's been working his way up the standings very nicely thus far. That was a really tricky maneuver he just did right there, kind of avoiding some of the more unfortunate collisions as he stays in contention for a podium finish. 400 meters left to go for first place. It's going to be between Luning and HyunSu. You are the 100 meters left to go. HyunSu barely has enough speed off that draft to take first place back, and had he not gone 8th place on the previous track, hold on, and you see all these blocks coming through. The gap between these Desperado racers. Oh my goodness.
Guard is doing such an excellent job right now, living up to his...
And this has been the winning formula for MSJ all season long. I mean, look at the bottle, the body fights that are happening. Guard can cause issues like this. I mean, look at how many meters are separating these Desperado racers. Hero and Guard are like an impenetrable wall that Ghost and the rest of his teammates cannot pass.
And speed, with such a dominating performance, HoJun and Nok, they're so far ahead that third place is going to be locked in.
Of a win, and Ghost once again all by his lonesome. The lone racer for Desperado in the top 4.
This is not looking great. Ghost is trying all he can. Actually, he bought a lot of space there for Striker to come in, but you got to keep in mind that MIRAEN and SEJONG, they're not far behind.
Their line that was really nice, was able to take the lead away from Nok for a moment there. Perhaps that momentum slowing is going to allow Ghost, after a really considerable collision, will allow him to catapult himself into first place, and Desperado looking really strong under pressure now.
Off of all those collisions, Desperado is firmly in the lead. Promise went for such an ambitious play, but it backfires on him. Now Hero is having that first place. Right now they're exchanging these crazy lines between Ghost and Hero, but Hero's in the lead. MIRAEN and SEJONG, they are far behind. They need Nok to knock Promise off the track.
That Promise falls down. I think that might be enough for MIRAEN and SEJONG to be able to convert the win. They desperately needed Promise to stick in those top ranks, and man, you can see Promise, kind of a look of frustration there. It's some last.
Place now.
Hero's still in first place, but all eyes are on Neil, the winner of the first track, as he's been really good with his nitrous gauge.
Oh my god!
That's
all
gonna take
eyes, but now it's just bad stuff happening for Neil. Such a huge
effectively for 1v1. And at first place as BBoong is slowly starting to gain the distance. Oh man, Spencer is coming out for both Hero and SUNGBIN. SUNGBIN navigating it, I want to say, a little bit better as we come down the stretch. 400 meters left to go.
Hero is holding on to this lead right now, but SUNGBIN gets an impeccable draft timing, and he comes in first, takes it away from Hero. And off we go into round 7 of our round of 16 winners match here. Solo Pool once again, he's not too far ahead, so I'm assuming he's going to build more on the booster gauge for now and look to catch up later.
Yeah, but Cool also did this on Wednesday when it was track number 3. Was he took his time, he played lower in the positions, he just waited for his opportunity to strike. He waited for a collision at the front of the pack to just kind of weave his way through, thread the needle, and go try cross that finish line in first place. We'll see if he goes with the same game plan here.
He's been trying, but there's so many obstacles in his way. BBoong and Neil completely blocking his lines right now. So many collisions happening, but it's just helping out Hero, SUNGBIN, and Neil.
He's a little bit far behind right now. Oh, especially that collision took a lot of momentum away, but he is working his way up. And let's keep in mind that all these little collisions that are inevitably going to happen here on the top, they might give him a chance as he's going for the Neil build. They're very reminiscent of the way that he won 3 in a row previously. Does he go for the spin turn again here? He does! Cool!
Cool.
Briefly work his way up to first place with a collision off of SUNGBIN there. Oh man, he tried to make the magic happen once more. Will he be able to do it? It's him versus HyunSu. He does have a nitrous. HyunSu! He clips the lead 130 meters to go. And Cool for the second time in a row on Wednesday, on Saturday, he wins 3 tracks in a row. Unbelievable.
Man, Cool is just living up to his name. You can see it on his face. He knows he's cool right now. He shows us that 3P here once again, and it felt like the odds were against him when he got collided into. But at the end, he's able to boop off SUNGBIN, boop off HyunSu, and take that first place for himself.
Oh man, that was absolutely unbelievable. He went
better add the respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck when I burn you like. This ain't a game, my aim is the throne. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone, throw it off in my brain and I'm bad to the bone.
The Kartrider Drift League playoffs continue tonight. We are entering the final few weekends of the very first season of the KDL. And tonight we start with the lower bracket semifinals between Seongnam ROX and MIRAEN SEJONG.
A banger to be sure, William. A very important matchup. The winner of this faces Live Sandbox. The winner of that will go to the grand finals. So just 2 steps left before we have our finals decided. We'll have 2 best of 7s in our normal best of 3 format, whereas if you win, one team wins item, one team wins speed, we will go to an ace match. And it should be a really good match between these 2 teams. I think we do have a favorite, but not a clear favorite, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be surprising at all if Seongnam ROX was able to best MIRAEN SEJONG and move on towards the lower bracket finals. However, just because of player reputation and their recent form, I think a lot of fans favoring MIRAEN SEJONG in this matchup tonight, but it's going to be a grueling one for sure.
Yeah, it is going to be a long one. They've got solos, a lot of these players, after this as well, so you're going to have to keep your wits about you. We had our picks and bans already for the tracks for speed and item. We'll be showing those to you guys again in a moment if you weren't here for the pre-show. But there's a lot to break down here. I think speed, if Seongnam ROX can upset and take speed, I think their chances skyrocket for taking this series.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree, especially just because in item mode, it does seem like both teams just straight up took the tracks they wanted, right? So it could come down to just 1 or 2 tracks in that mode. However, on speed mode, we saw a couple curveballs from both teams, not ones that we would have expected given their drafts during the regular season. So we'll have to see how that pans out as we do see the first team enter the stage. It is going to be Seongnam ROX finishing in 3rd place in the regular season, securing their place here in the lower bracket for the playoffs.
BBoong looking a little tired today. He's going to have to wake up because he's got this and he's got solos after this. It's going to be a long night. It's going to be a long night of KDL. And there's the, you know, little fighting chant as they raise their hands in front of the crowd, as they are a popular team here in Korea, but the opposition, MIRAEN SEJONG, is the super team with the most popular Kartrider player, the most successful Kartrider player in history, and he's trying to make a name for himself here now in Kartrider Drift League and HoJun. But this roster is stacked. Expectations were high. They disappointed when they weren't able to actually pass ROX in the standings to actually skip that wildcard match, but they smashed Desperado there. And for them, they're coming into this match very confident this is just one more rung on the ladder.
Yeah, I think for this team, you look at it, and we talked about it during the pre-show, but they probably think back to that match against Always, to that ace match, and think, okay, if it wasn't for that, we probably would have been in 3rd place. No big deal. It's just one extra match that we're playing. It's just more reps on the stage, something that this team has plenty of, so we'll see how that comes into play as we'll take a closer look at the teams with their bios here as they get set up on stage. First up, it's going to be Seongnam ROX.
AcidFly's got like 7 different of these ones. Yeah. Like, which one are we doing first?
He's like, is this the right order? This is actually the hardest part for AcidFly, is to figure out how to flip all his fans. Why does AcidFly just have more than his teammates? What's going on here?
You see that Luning has one of the highest, and in fact, I think even the highest percentage, or rather average in terms of placement here. How did MSJ become a strong team? This is kind of a a meme for the Hanoi Eagles, a baseball team here in Korea. There was an article about them. How did the Eagles become a strong team? And then they instantly got cursed and crashed to the ground. So they're trying to curse them a little bit. How'd they become such a strong team?
Yeah, just trying to curse them with all the memes possible of a team that's starting to look good and then just crashes and burns. It's kind of like the ultimate caster curse, but it's by the opponent team and the journalists. So we'll see if it comes into play. Now, MIRAEN and SEJONG, there's no mystery on how they became a strong team because you look at the names if you've been following the scene, this is a pretty legendary roster. And with that absolute dominant run in the wildcard match, they're looking to continue their streak.
Yeah, you see Hero here second only to Luning in terms of that speed rank at 3.16. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. If you start breaking into the twos, you're talking about an insanely dominant team, and this team is insanely dominant.
Yeah, just going through the challenge list here, just breaking every quest, getting rid of all those little exclamation marks and popping them off the checklist as they try to go all the way to the grand finals. But there are still quite a few steps, right? You got to win this, and then you have to face Live Sandbox, still a very, very noteworthy team, and then you'll have a shot to go against the Guangdong Freaks. Now, if you missed it during the pre-show, here is our lineup. And, you know, some of the tracks, sure, you know, Terracotta Twister is still there, but it's in round 7, so the order's a little different than what we're used to.
Yeah, we have Factory Facility 5, excuse me, as well in round 6. So a track that's very rare that MSJ picked here to throw a bit of a curveball. ROX picking Mexico Touring Rally and Brazil Circuit, 2 tracks that are very forgiving. If you lose control early, sometimes you can bounce back, especially on Brazil Circuit. Mexico Touring Rally, there are some parts of this track where you can choose high ground, low ground, take some risks. There are some pass points there. Whereas MSJ taking Shanghai Circuit, Boom Hill Tunnel, Factory Facility 5, a lot more confident of a draft from them. They took away Handy Harbor and Glacier Extreme Stadium, ROX did. So Seongnam ROX kind of staying with this in a lot of ways. I think we are the underdogs going into this series in speed.
Yeah, just taking away the favorite tracks of MIRAEN and SEJONG. But as you mentioned, MSJ still picking up tracks that they think they can keep the lead on the entire time. However, we will be starting with the Seongnam ROX's pick in track 1 as we go to WKC Mexico Touring Rally. And the race begins as we kick off a long night of the KDL. 2 best-of-7s for item or speed and item mode between these 2 teams. We have Seongnam ROX in red and MIRAEN and SEJONG in blue.
Yeah, start here, you know, fairly strong for MSJ. They have midfield control right now, which means AcidFly and BBoong really need to hold on to their top 4 spots here. HoJun tries to challenge through. AcidFly, let's see how tight he takes this turn. Great job there, actually.
Oh, but Guard, some just good positioning, making sure he can keep the lead. This is actually a pretty good position for MIRAEN and SEJONG because you have Guard who is going to have that experience in sweeping, just able to defend that first place. Then you just wait for racers like HoJun or Hero to try to catch up and get that 1-2 at the end.
And with right now 1 point being the difference between these 2 teams, every single place counts. If Luning can pass HoJun, they suddenly take the lead. There's trading spots here, but now MSJ in a very confident position here, again with a little bit more midfield control. Navi needs to catch up. We'll get a shot of that in a moment where he is. You can see on the minimap he's not too far behind. There he is coming around. He is really the one that they need right now. 1-2 is a win condition here as well. It's a 1-lap track. Everyone taking the lower ground on this pass here. We'll see if anyone tries to take higher ground here on this area to try to get around. Looks like the answer is no. Just trying to go for the most speed possible.
And Navi finally catching up. He's trying to break through, but he gets a little too greedy. However, this makes an opening for Luning, who's going to get that first place. Gives that slight point lead they had for a split second. It's going to come down to the wire. 2-3-4 is it possible for MIRAEN and SEJONG? No, it does not look like it. And it's going to be Seongnam ROX getting that first and third place, breaking apart the majority crew of MSJ.
Yeah, this was a midfield race for sure. A lot of the focus of, by our observers was watching what was happening at the front, but the midfield was where the real fight was happening. Constantly jockeying for a position, going between 3rd and 6th and fighting each other in that pack we saw cross the finish line there. Once they hit the checkered flag, it was ROX who actually found success just by a single point there. BBoong passing HoJun, blocking out Guard, and even though AcidFly brings up the rear, they get just enough points to take the win here, about as close as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very interesting match because in the middle of the race, you had HoJun just kind of giving up on the player in front of him and then focusing on Luning, making sure to pressure him because they were afraid of him eventually taking that first place. But then Navi goes for the greedy jump around the corner, draws all the aggro, and makes a clear opening for Luning. I mean, this is some of the best team play we've seen from Seongnam ROX, and they're able to just barely edge it out, taking that first track in speed mode.
Yeah, still a 0% here for MSJ on the other side. They're still winless on that track, and that will continue. So close, and yet so far. Now we're going to move into their track pick here of Shanghai Circuit to see if they can bounce back. Hero looking a little nervous here. Starting off 0-1 is not what they expected to see.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the start they want. However, it is going to be their track pick. If they can get that start for Hero, MSJ should be able to bounce back as we go to round 2 on Shanghai Circuit.
Track 2 begins. Seongnam ROX leading. Guard will have a pretty decent start here, but he is outnumbered. Let's see if Nok can break through. The answer is yes. Luning challenges very aggressively here, but MIRAEN and SEJONG get the better start. 1-2 position occupied by Guard and Nok. And BBoong, ooh, taking a bit of a bump there, but he'll recover.
Yeah, just barely scraping by there, but he's going to be able to keep that 3rd place. Now Hero in a much better position this time around, and that's the racer that MSJ wants to get into 1st place. As great of a racer as he is, he shines when he can just do his own thing, right? Just go into time trial mode. When he has to really compete against a bunch of his opponents, that's where we see him falter just a bit, and the pressure gets to him, so we'll see if he can slowly climb up the ranks here.
Yeah, Hero, I think, a little bit surprised by the angle AcidFly took there, but he will regain 3rd place. And Hero's position right now is so powerful, forcing Luning to take the outer to pass him, but this is a 3v1 scenario up here.
Oh.
Hero, ooh, a bit of an aggressive attempt there, but HoJun still gets to pass during it, so still 1-2-3 occupied by MSJ.
I mean, I don't mind it, but we'll see if it comes back to bite him, as HoJun is just going to get a good block against Luning, make him lose a bit control as he tries to recover on that shortcut across the grass. So, Hero just going for absolute aggressive plays. He's just trying to keep Seongnam ROX at bay, as they already have the 1-2. They even have HoJun there for backup for MSJ.
Yeah, if he keeps just attacking there and disrupting, the numbers game is always going to be MSJ's, and HoJun's blocking here is fantastic. It's like he's playing an ace match against 2 people at once.
Yeah, great stops. AcidFly just can't find an opening. Now it's back over to Luning, but it's not going to matter at the end of the day. Even if they pass him, the 1-2 way out of grasp, as we see Nok and Guard entering, getting that track win here for MIRAEN and SEJONG.
Really fantastic plays there from HoJun, and Guard, he took a bad situation and turned it into a great one for them, buying so much space there, and then HoJun was just never going to give up any control there. Clear mastery of the track, and it started off well for them, and that's why starts are so important in Kart Rider Drift League for the team matches, for speed. If you can get ahead first, you get to control the narrative of where they can pass, when they can pass. Nok, with all that space, breaks the track record of his opponent here in BBoong, and we'll take it at 133.260, so pretty nicely done here for MSJ. A big statement bounce back after losing the 1st track.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that shines to me is that Hero still provided so much value despite losing that lead. Oftentimes, if Hero wasn't able to get the 1-2 position, we saw him kind of become irrelevant throughout the race, sitting in 7th and 8th place, but this time, he's using his boost to constantly put that pressure and disrupt Seongnam ROX so they can't just get the easy drafts off of their opponents. We'll see if that trend continues as we get ready to go to yet another WKC track here in round number 3 on Brazil Circuit. And the race is off. BBoong starting from the side, just trying to make sure that they're able to control the crowd for the most part. We talked about this track earlier. Lots of ways to try to make a comeback, even with a couple mistakes. However, this time, Hero's in the exact position he wants to be in.
Yeah, this is exactly what they want. Although, maybe a bit of a caster curse from us here. He will get passed by Luning, but Luning is outnumbered here. And he alone isn't going to be able to get the job done. The rest of his team lagging behind massively. But early starts don't matter as much here because there's so many different paths you can take. You can take outer lines, you can boost through the grass. It's very difficult to sweep on this track. But Luning, as well as he races here, we're going to have to take a look at where the rest of the team is because 1st place isn't going to cut it alone.
Yeah, I was curious if MIRAEN and SEJONG just kind of let Luning do their thing and then make sure they can keep the 2, 3, 4 on lockdown. However, they don't want to take too many chances. They're going to make sure they constantly pressure Luning as well. Just really disrupt Seongnam ROX. AcidFly finds a good opening amongst all his opponents, though.
AcidFly has been finding some great angles, and now he's up here with Luning, and now this is a really competitive race here. Yeah, MSJ leading currently by 3 points, 5 points now. But if Luning can get into second place, that 1-2 win condition is definitely a possibility here. It's such a close race, but HoJun now pushing AcidFly back.
Yep, HoJun just taking that lead, trying to buy a bit more time for his teammates alongside Nox. So the 1-2 in contention by MSJ, but Luning, he's not out of the race just yet. HoJun knows this. He's trying to keep his eye a bit more on Luning than he is on AcidFly.
Oh man, this is exactly how this track plays out. There's just so many different angles, there's so many different opportunities, but MSJ, if Navi doesn't get first here, there's just no way. Hero's contesting him here in 1-2. Definitely an option here for MIRAEN and SEJONG.
And look at these trade-offs from MIRAEN and SEJONG as well. Hero goes for a bit of a sweep. Nox comes back, and this time Hero catching up once again with another draft. Nox trying to find the opening, pressuring Seongnam ROX so he can't pass HoJun. However, Navi, now he's going on to first place. He's trying to hold on to it. He's going to cut across the grass so he can bump HoJun into the wall, and he's going to bump him against the tires. It's going to be Seongnam ROX Navi with a clear lead, getting that 1-2 alongside AcidFly.
What an insane passage of play. The angles there, the bumps they took, and then the final nitro there at the end. That was one of the most insane finishes I've ever seen. Such a clutch play there. And AcidFly, he's helped set a lot of this up, but the timing there was just so clean. And in all of the chaos, Navi and he will emerge first and second here, even with Luning and BBoong at the end. The 1-2 win condition, we were talking about it was still a possibility, it was still an option. They couldn't get the blocks off, the track is too wide. They took the exact right angles, they communicated well, and they bring themselves to a second win here. Very impressive passage of play there from ROX. That's the kind of stuff this team has been missing. I think they're finally showing up.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. I mean, that kind of split-second decision, going for a bit of a Hail Mary, but doing it so precisely to make sure you secure the win, keeps them in the lead 2-1 in this best-of-7 speed mode. Now we go back to MIRAEN and SEJONG's pick as we get ready for track number 4 on Boom Hill Tunnel.
Off we go. Seongnam ROX definitely having the momentum now. This is a very short one-lap track. You saw the record 1 minute, 13 seconds. The start here is so important because there's not a lot of wiggle room here. Very difficult to pass. It's a very narrow track. Fairly even here, but you got to give the edge again to MIRAEN and SEJONG, who actually have the 1-2-3. Now HoJun moving up into second place here. Navi, if he makes one mistake, it feels over.
Yeah, and Guard just constantly putting the pressure on. I love that HoJun also just caught up just in time to make sure he provides support for Hero. So now, Hero, he can really just focus on his race. HoJun, oh, he tried to go for the block. However, now that tricks up Hero a bit as well. Navi getting a clear lead. Bumps against the track just a bit.
HoJun here really playing with fire, but he is going to win out for now, as this midfield is insane. This whole series has just been a midfield game. It really feels like Navi battling with Nock and Guard here, looking for that Neo build up off of the railing here. 1-2, still occupied by MSJ. About 15 seconds to go here on this track. AcidFly, some spin attempts here, but they are not really going to do too much here for ROX.
Oh, great jump from Guard as well. He cuts them off. He sees that there was a bit of speed lost from AcidFly, and it looks like this should be a clear 1-2. Luning's going to do what he can to try to break it apart, but it's going to be HoJun and Guard crossing the finish line. And this is the story of Boom Hill Tunnel, right? You get that lead. Once you pass the halfway mark, it's really hard to trip up the first and second place.
Yeah, and you know, even with nice attempts there to go for spin turn is always more powerful if you're in those top two spots and you have a little bit more space. You can't really use it to close the gap because you're going to be colliding with too many other racers. The midfield is just too dense, too tightly packed. And so HoJun and Guard do end up taking this one. The HoJun, he's really racing like he's trying to prove something today, and it could have come back to bite them. It looked really risky for a moment there, what we were seeing from him. I was a little bit concerned, but he does hold it, and he does recover well and bring us to a 2-2 scoreline. But the man's racing like somebody possessed, you know, and sometimes I'm like, HoJun, you don't have to prove anything. We know you're the Emperor, okay?
I know, right? I mean, listen, you have such a great career behind you, but I love that he still has that drive behind him. Just go for the Hail Marys to go for the win rather than just protect his own reputation. We'll see if it continues as this is already tied up close 2-2. Getting ready for round 5 on Construction Chaos. As we see the racers speed across the sands here, this is going to be a track where that midfield kind of density, it could come back to bite both teams as we have some crazy parts in the later half of the track.
Yeah, there are some 90-degree turns that we're going to get into here, which become insane. And if the more space you have for your front runners, the better. And this is exactly why ROX are in a good position here. This is their track selection. We didn't expect to see this track out of them. Wondering what the mastery level is looking like right now. Looking at how far Luning and Navi have pulled ahead here of the middle of the pack. They have a huge opportunity to avoid any of that chaos on these 90-degree turns we're now entering. And Guard and Hero kind of competing with each other, not intentionally here because they're trying to take the tightest line possible, but they have to avoid collisions with each other. As you can see, Navi there has one with his teammate as well. That's the opportunity Hero's looking for.
Yeah, Hero just trying to catch up. So finally, as everyone just plays it cautious here in lap number 1, here in SEJONG will have a bit of an opportunity to catch up. They get that double team boost, but Seongnam ROX answers just right after. Navi now going into sweeping mode, trying to protect Luning, get him an even bigger lead that'll secure the 10 points. And then Seongnam ROX, they have a couple extra options.
Yeah, gotta be careful though. AcidFly lagging behind a little bit. BBoong in 8th right now, so you're hoping for the 1-2, but if you can't get that, you're gonna have to hope for your teammates to push through. AcidFly doing just that right now, pushing them into that 20-point lead. Navi really aggressively trying to find this draft angle, and they keep the numbers advantage. The early part of this track, ROX really has down.
Yeah, and AcidFly, he's just been finding these very clutch moments and openings in all the tracks so far. Even if it only lasts for a split second, it creates enough of a gap. However, right now it's just 1 point difference. Any one of these racers switching spots, and that's going to determine who wins. Luning should be safe in first place, but Hero, what's the play here? Do you try to just secure second, or do you try to trip up Navi and secure the 2-3-4 through your teammates? Will go for it. Hero slows him down. Oh, he tries to go for a harder block, but that leaves the opening for Navi. HoJun, does he have enough speed? He's got the double boost, but the team boost, it comes out just in time. Can he pass Navi on the jump? He's going for it off the draft. He goes for the close corner. He greens it for first place, but he's not able to pass Luning. And the 1-2 for Seongnam ROX keeps them back in the lead.
Yeah, puts them on match point here, and we were watching that battle between the back racers there, Guard and BBoong battling it out, and that looked like it was going to be the deciding factor. It looked like there was no way that they were going to be able to make that 1-2 happen, but again, greed comes through, not only on that final jump, but the attempted block there from HoJun allows that 1-2 to come through. He tries another Hail Mary afterwards on the jump to try to pull it back into their favor, but fails. And even though Guard wins that battle against BBoong, it ultimately doesn't end up mattering at all. With ROX taking the 1-2, you win those no matter what happens after that. Everyone from 3rd to 8th, doesn't matter if you do have 2 players in the 1st and 2nd spots, that's enough points guaranteed to win the race. And now they're on match point here. Very tense for MSJ, and I feel like ROX are just really showing up tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone doing their part. These split-second decisions from all 4 players coming out in favor. Now, this is going to be that curveball that MSJ prepared for us as we see. Can they tie it up 3-3 on Factory Facility 5?
Round 6 here, MIRAEN SEJONG against the wall here as Luning, bit of a rockier start from him. We'll be able to build some extra nitro. This track is super jagged. It has a lot of tight turns, but they're wide. The turns themselves are quite tight, but the track is wide. So there's a lot of opportunity for players to take outer lines to actually try to pass here. So it's very different, and it's a track, as you mentioned, that we don't see very often here in pro play. So let's see what MSJ has planned. Right now, the lead they hold very strong here, 1-2.
Yeah, and Hero just constantly in contention against AcidFly. Now off those jumps, most players bunching up together once again in the midfield. AcidFly kind of lonely here up in the lead. Meanwhile, Nock just playing against 2 people, but he's not able to defend against both. Luning and Navi will pass him by, and Seongnam ROX, they should have an opening, a chance here to try to break apart the 1-2.
Yeah, AcidFly's opportunities here dwindling, though, as the gap does widen.
Oh, we saw... Yeah, and the PIP, Nock just gets absolutely crushed against the wall as we see Luning just speeding right by him. However, AcidFly still needs to break that 1-2.
Yeah, he needs to break that 1-2, but he needs more than that as well. Okay, Luning and BBoong trying to push up. They need to break this 1-2 or there's just no chance, but I think they're going to need more than that with Navi back in 8th place. 500 meters to go. AcidFly, what angle is he going to get here? It's not good enough.
Yeah, Luning, he goes for another great jump himself this time, but it's just going to be a repeat of what HoJun had last, as it's going to be a 3-3 tie going down to the wire as you get ready for round 7 here in speed mode.
It's going to be a 7-rounder. I don't know if we can call it a nut, Mike, because it's a 7-rounder, not a 5-rounder, but we're going the full distance here in this first one. And it has just been back and forth. We have traded tracks each and every time between these two teams. And that was a very dominant performance. You could just see that, unfortunately, for Seongnam ROX, just not having the mastery of that track. I mean, look, AcidFly looked like he certainly did, but he couldn't get it done on his own. Luning also breaking through, not taking some abuse. But the 1-2 is always going to be the stronger win condition. We just saw it happen on the previous track. And that is how these two teams are operating today. Get that early lead, protect the 1-2.
Yeah, now it comes down to the wire, to a old-time favorite here for the KDL. It's going to be Terracotta Twister. Seongnam ROX decided to pick it as the last track, going back to some familiar ground. However, we've seen more and more here in the very first official season, a lot of aggression as we go into that tomb section, trying to knock each other off as you go around that little snake line. So we'll see how these two teams perform. Both sides going for a lot of these Hail Mary plays. Get ready for World Tour Terracotta Twister. Going to be the last track in speed mode between Seongnam ROX and MIRAEN and SEJONG. Now, MSJ, their gamble taking us to Factory Facility 5 works in keeping their dreams alive, as we see a lot of aggression right off the bat, but we'll see if they can close things out here on Terracotta.
All right, HoJun being in first here makes me feel a little bit more comfortable because he has been one of those aggressors once we get into the indoor portion of this track, but in first place, he's going to have to be the defender by default here and try to avoid what we see here from BBoong potentially and Na'Vi as well, because the attacks you're talking about in the midfield around this particular turn right here can be deadly, or the next one, excuse me, where you do come over and you see these opportunities to cut across these corners. Then this turn in particular where it gets narrow, Guard pilots it really well.
Yeah, Guard was playing it quite safe too. You could tell that he was trying to keep his eye on his opponents, make sure he blocks him off so HoJun doesn't have too much to worry about. In fact, that gives him an opening himself. So now the 1-2 held by MSJ. Now Hero, not exactly known for the best sweeping. He is much more of that runner, that speed ace oftentimes for MSJ, but right now he has to do the sweeping. If he can keep both AcidFly and Luning, maybe even all the way down to BBoong at bay, it should be a pretty easy race here for MIRAEN and SEJONG.
Ooh, great disruption there from Guard, forcing Na'Vi to take some of these awkward bumps on the previous patch. That would have been the end of it, as Guard is just trying to block Luning at every turn, takes the inner here, and then just maintaining that 1-2.
Yeah, living up to his name, just keeping everyone at bay. Na'Vi finally going to catch a break, but is it going to be enough? I don't think he can go for anything too aggressive. Guard even going forward on the jump, bumping Na'Vi, forces him to lose speed as Na'Vi tries to recover. Guard is now just trying to play for sweeps. Luning has an opportunity on the draft, and what a cutoff from Guard. Absolutely just shoulders him against the wall. Hero back in play as well. The 1-2 defended for MIRAEN and SEJONG, and they will be taking the lead in this match as they take speed mode 4-3.
Guard playing out of his mind, blocking so many different attempts there from Luning and just never letting them crack that top two. It's another 1-2 finish for them to close out speed. But Guard just, he made it happen every single time. And there were some really nice attempts as well. And then there was that slowdown from Na'Vi, and he just never really fully recovered. I think once it was just Luning they had to contend with, and Na'Vi fell back. They actually finishes in 8th place at the end here. There was just no coming back, and that one hit really took half the wind out of the sails there of Seongnam ROX. And then once that happened, it was just an easy game, a 1v1 for him to play. The space was immense for HoJun there. And they take it 4-3.
Wow, I mean, just insane plays from Guard. Just the number of things he did in that second lap of Terracotta Twister, absolutely impressive. And I mean, you can't blame AcidFly. He looks defeated because he has so many moments, and the team overall for Seongnam ROX to constantly be the ones who are still keeping the lead. We have to remember, MIRAEN and SEJONG didn't have the lead until the very last track, and then they make the comeback 4-3 to take speed mode.
Now Lens will be coming in for AcidFly, the item ace here for Seongnam ROX. So that is something that MSJ, MIRAEN and SEJONG do not have. They do not have an item ace. They're a 4-man roster. So this is where it comes down to some of those timings we were talking about in terms of the item draft, because the draft we saw from ROX, much more leaning towards trying to have those finishing moves where you use the Magnet Rush, where you use Nitro and a Magnet together, or you try to hit a timing with Lightning and pass at the last possible second using some extra momentum or some high ground. That's the strategy that ROX has, and I think the strength that they have slightly over the more tempo-based playstyle we're seeing from MSJ. That being said, the tempo-based playstyle is becoming more meta right now. MSJ has track advantage here. They had the item priority, so they have 4 tracks they selected to ROX's 3.
Yeah, and absolutely tracks we would expect them to enjoy. I mean, same could be said for Seongnam ROX, but as you mentioned, Wolf, because the meta has been favoring that tempo just a bit more, you gotta imagine it's a bit more flexible throughout the draft, right? Seongnam ROX, they're not really looking at these tracks and being like, oh, our style absolutely wins in this matchup. It's much more of a, well, we gotta hope for the best to a certain extent. And now you're really relying on Lens to be able to make those calls ahead of time, because if you're waiting until the last lap, the last sections of the items to make your call, you might be a bit too late.
Yeah, you might be. It is really going to be a test of what ROX can do. Can they show more versatility, I think, here? Because they only have 3 tracks that are theirs, and only 2 of those 3 really suit their playstyle, with London Knight being banned.
Well, it's going to be MIRAEN SEJONG's first pick, trying to continue the good vibes over from speed mode as we go to Mine Motherload. Item mode begins as MIRAEN SEJONG currently leads in this matchup after a close speed mode victory.
Now, Luning here, good start. That scanner not going to be too useful here in lap 1, unfortunately, that he does pick up. But BBoong, first place with 2 shields. That's the kind of tempo you're looking for to start things off.
Just playing things pretty safe here on the side of Seongnam ROX. I mean, if we're able to get the lead, you might as well keep the tempo. And BBoong just trying to block off everyone as much as possible. He will barely try to recycle his items there at the end.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a rough one there. He kind of mistimed it just by a split second, so doesn't really get the value he was looking for. Sacrifices a lot of momentum as a result. Ends up with a Wisp and an EMP, not really what he was looking for there in 8th place.
Yeah, meanwhile, HoJun, he was actually trying to, once again, go for a bit of greedy play, keep Lens at bay, and then cut him off at the end to take over his own item. He actually misses out on item recycle himself, and that creates a much bigger gap towards Lens right now, who holds the Guardian Angel on his own already. So Seongnam ROX, they have some items set up for the 3rd lap coming up soon.
The UFO is going to come out here. Good shield from Hero. Luning holding on to 2 of his own here. Will cycle one out, ends up getting another one. Is going to be eaten by this UFO, or will get slowed down, excuse me, by this UFO.
Oh, and HoJun double shield. You've got UFOs on both sides. Only 1 EMP on the side of Seongnam ROX, though. But all right, just takes the heat from one of those UFOs, because we are still only in the 2nd lap out of 3. So MIRAEN SEJONG, they don't exactly quite have the setup they would want. Normally, if you're playing for tempo, you already want to have a pretty hefty lead here towards the end of lap 2. So now both teams, they have to be quite aware of what their options are for a timing takeover at the end.
Yeah, Nok is going to have that shield, and that's actually huge that Navi gets slowed down there. Now you have 2 players here to actually protect each other, and HoJun is going to be the one who's trying to protect Nok as he pushes it further ahead. He's hoping for an EMP pickup here as well as an additional shield if he can get one, as that lead is starting to mount significantly. He's got the big banana. I don't know if that's really going to help him out too much. Not really.
Yeah, just going to be dropped there trying to cycle through. The scanner does come out, so MIRAEN SEJONG has an okay idea. However, not too many items on the side of Seongnam ROX to take a look. We have double magnets, but no boost to go off of it. Curious to see Lens and BBoong. What's the idea here? Lens is just going to use it just to try to catch up, but he's not going to get full value. Now it's going to be Luning going for the Siren as well, but it's already too much of a gap as Nok is going to cross the finish line safe and sound, taking the lead here in item mode.
And we talked about the strategy that they like to go for. They played their own way. It did take longer than you normally start to get an advantage towards the end of the 2nd lap or so. If you haven't gotten it by then, it usually looks pretty doomed and you run out of steam. But they were able to actually put HoJun in a position to buy some time there. They had that really nice Angel Shield to come through about halfway through that 3rd lap, and then the gap is too wide. Unfortunately, Nok is really not in range, and MSJ will end up taking this first track here, Mine Motherload, their track pick. And we'll see if ROX can bounce back now with their own style, but tempo once again wins out.
Yeah, I mean, tempo, again, it's just more flexible, right? Because worst case, you can still try to go for a timing attack, whereas if you're focusing on something like a timing towards the end, you're really just trying to say, oh, well, do we keep this Guardian Angel? I mean, we're only in the beginning of lap 2. There's so much more for you to consider. I feel like it's a lot more pressure on your item ace. Well, we'll see how it pans out as we go to ROX's pick of Graveyard Guard Castle.
round 2 has begun. MIRAEN and SEJONG 1 speed in the 7th track here. Now they're just 3 tracks away from preventing the ace match and moving on to face Live Sandbox. We'll see if they can keep up the momentum here. This time, it's Seongnam ROX's track selection.
Yeah, Navi in the lead so far, but we'll have to wait and see, of course, another 3-lapper. I'm just curious to see if ROX is able to just keep this. Now, Lenzy's been consistently kind of taking the lead and just running with it here for Seongnam ROX. Oftentimes, we'll see him kind of sit at the back so he can really commandeer the entire squad. But for now, he's just taking what he can get. Great water bombs through and through from MSJ, continuing on from track 1.
Yeah, that was really important there. Try to get them right before they go into that portal where they're fairly protected as that Wisp is going to, okay, it looked like it's going to go wide for a second there. It does actually eventually connect. That's an item you don't want to throw away.
Yeah, we're just constantly seeing the targets back and forth. So once again, I mean, no one having a clear lead here. The Luning is going to barely get that shield. The Magnet trying to slow him down, but he's already made the jump. So safe for the time being. I mean, no clear advantage just yet, right? I mean, again, this is one of those tracks where you're not going to be able to have that opportunity to just really widen the distance with your lead for tempo. Hero's trying to do what he can to keep everyone at bay. Yeah, HoJun, he's got the double water bomb as well.
Exactly. Double shield for Hero, but he can't hold on to first place, so it doesn't necessarily matter as much. Dropped out the EMP earlier. Picks up another shield here when he really needs either an attacking item or some sort of way to close that gap. Lens unprotected, though, and Hero is going to sneak by him. Now Hero's got the lead. Great shield through that bomb. And they're just trying to block here and hold onto those shields for Hero.
Look at Guard, just going for the sweeps once again. Goes for the Wisp, and he is on defense duty once more. Hero has to double shields. Really, the only thing that's going to slow him down is going to be that UFO or potential Magnet. So an EMP coming out for MSJ would be huge. Oh, but what a water bomb. It's going to catch everyone. Coming in from HoJun actually ties up the entire lineup. So Len says, you know what? That gives me the timing I want.
Yeah.
I go for the boost.
Yeah, now he's got a huge opportunity here. Unfortunately, has to use that shield on the barricade, and Navi's going to get caught in the portal. That's rare. Angel is out here. MSJ just looking for blood. Wisp going to catch guard, and I think Navi has all but locked this one up.
Oh man, HoJun, he's going to be kicking himself for that one. I mean, it was a huge hit, and he thought just because of the items they had, they would be able to continue forward, but the shields don't come out in time for Hero, and lo and behold, it's going to be Lens who had that nitrous right after.
Yeah, if you hit your teammates in that spot, you know, unfortunately, it's not going to be a net positive, but if he was able to hit it just slightly to the right where it hits only the ROX players, then he wins the game off of it, actually, and that's the razor-thin margins. For a water bomb shot like that, they changed on this patch. It's a lot easier to aim. You can have some really cool angles you can take. He went for the greedy one. That's kind of been the story of HoJun past the middle of the season is, if it's a risky play, I'm going to prove myself every time, and, you know, this time it backfires a little bit. He's proven himself in insane ways otherwise, but you know, Seongnam just going to say thank you on this one.
Yeah, they'll take whatever wins they can as they're the ones trying to take us to an ace match. Now tied 1-1 in item mode. We go back to MIRAEN SEJONG's pick of Forest, Mushroom Caves. MSJ, are they going to play it a bit safer? I mean, once again, it's their pick. Can go for a bit more of that tempo style, so shouldn't be in a place where they have to greed too much.
Yeah, and we're just going to be seeing constantly exchanging items here. Lens too fast to break that one, and it's okay to get hit by these on lap 1, the first part of it as well. Been holding on to an EMP. Always feels nice when you have a nice lead, but when you don't, it's like, I'd rather want to cycle this. Like Lens, for example, has 2 of them now, and he's not even in first place. There's not going to be any magnets coming out. He's not feeling too great about this. We'll cycle 1 and keep it just in case he can push into first and eat a UFO. That's what he's hoping for right now. Fortunately, we'll eat something else there, a water bomb.
Yeah, not able to block that one. But I like the idea, right? Because you keep the EMP on Lens. That allows BBoong to cycle through, try to go for some more aggressive items as he's way behind on the rankings. Maybe he gets a lightning. If not, he can catch up and try to support from the midfield, which he is now in place with that nitrous being used.
Yeah, Hero getting hit by that Wisp. Nice little break there by, I believe it was Navi who fired that one out. Not 100% sure who fired it, but he braked and then dropped the Wisp down there to make sure he could catch him and give some extra protection for BBoong. BBoong up here in first. Lens going to get magneted by Hero. Not the highest value magnet. He's trying to get himself in the Wisp range here, and we'll just hit Lens instead with it. That wasn't the greatest we've ever seen, unfortunately.
Yeah, not finding too much value. Now, BBoong earlier, he had a great magnet where he was able to keep HoJun at bay, and he's actually just going for some blocks right now as well, understanding that they might want to go for a team setup here for Seongnam ROX. HoJun, he went for the items, so he's going to just eat the barricade, but not the items he wanted, shield and EMP. If he was in first place, this looks good. However, he cycles the EMP for a magnet. Nock trying to catch up with a nitrous as well. The Guardian Angel comes out. HoJun, he's still got a shield and a magnet, so even if BBoong passes him, HoJun should have an idea. The UFO as well, but BBoong, he's shielded the water bomb, and no one can stop him as they both get slowed down. BBoong crosses the finish line first.
What a wild final team fight there with the magnet during UFO battling between deceleration, acceleration, but the shield that comes through there in the end is ultimately what protects against that final bomb and wins it for him. But that UFO really did him in because he was trying to magnet his way to a finish. HoJun has that magnet in the perfect spot, but the UFO is going to be too much for him. And not only does BBoong cross first, but Luning will actually even pass HoJun in those last final moments. And ROX pull ahead again here. Still need 2 more wins before they can force the ace match, but looking a little bit more hopeful. Reminiscent of what we saw, of course, in Speed, where they were able to pull ahead, but ultimately weren't able to finish. This time, though, winning on their opponent's track feels nice to get a huge momentum shift.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the type of lead you want. Now you can continue onto your own pick, which is going to be coming from Seongnam ROX as we go to Glacier Polar Halfpipe.
Seongnam ROX pulling ahead 2-1 here, and this is their track selection, as William just mentioned. And now, we'll see if they can find some tempo success, or rather not tempo, but kind of finishing success, those timing success that this track is so known for here on this high ground that you'll see everyone pass through now. See if anyone takes it.
Not quite in position. We see a bunch of rockets being primed for attack here, so everyone just going to be spinning out, evening out the playing field. Now Nox still has a pretty hefty lead, but again, this is one of those tracks where everyone will eventually find a way to catch up. Nox not really any ways to keep the lead, as HoJun is just going to not play the game for a little bit.
Now Luning here holding on to 2 rockets at the moment. Toss one out. Hero's got that balloon that's going to make him spin. Guard will spin as well. We'll spin a second time. We're just rocketing away here. But the biggest winners of this are Lens and Navi right now, who start to pull quite significantly ahead. And now Lens can take a more defensive stance here with this Wisp. And Navi will toss out a shield, picks up another one. And Luning is just trying to buy space here with Lens now. Lens to just hold that Wisp until somebody from MSJ passes, in this case Nock. Really nice usage here to get onto the high ground of that magnet. But there's the Wisp.
Yeah, the Wisp keeps HoJun at bay as well. And Nock, I mean, he wanted to use the magnet onto Luning, but we did see another opponent for Seongnam ROX kind of block his vision. So he didn't get as much speed as he wanted. Eventually, though, able to take back first place, even the playing field as we get ready for lap number 3, the last lap. Quite a few big items in store already. MIRAEN SEJONG has both a Guardian Angel and a Lightning Bolt at bay. Yeah,
HoJun has 2 nitros too, so he could try to jump onto the high ground here with one of those and then be relatively protected while his team tosses that lightning out. Going to be tossed here early, actually, to bait a Guardian Angel. And let's see. Oh, huge water balloon!
Gosh.
Oh man, that is basically it.
Yeah.
No one can stop Lens now. He's got a Wisp. He doesn't have a shield or an EMP, but Luning is the one who's holding the UFO.
He's way too far ahead. I mean, Nock, he's just barely catching up. What's he going to get? He gets a magnet, but he gets hit by the barricade. Not able to get the shield. And now HoJun trying to pass by, but no items can keep Lens at bay. Luning with the biggest water bomb of the playoffs so far, as he's able to secure yet another round for Seongnam ROX.
And these water balloons are definitely not MIRAEN SEJONG's friends tonight. That is a huge win. Massive bomb there. Perfect timing as everyone's trying to nitro their way onto the high ground to get that extra protection. They used the lightning early. They also baited out a Guardian Angel, but it doesn't matter if you get that much of a lead off of just one big bomb like that. Who cares about who's got Angels, who's got Nitros? And Lens takes a massive lead, and ROX pull ahead here into match point 4 item. 1 win away now from bringing us to that ace match. It almost feels like fate. It almost feels like we're going to have it as some Kwangdong players here coming to watch, it looks like.
Yeah, just scouting out their potential opponents. Now, of course, whichever team wins here today on stage, they will have to face Live Sandbox first. So Kwangdong Freaks will have a lot more data to work off of, a lot more VOD review available on their side as they already await at the podiums of the grand final. But MIRAEN SEJONG, this item mode, it's not going the way it has during the regular season, during the round robin. We'll see if they can bring things back as we go to their next pick of Factory Cogwheel Crush. It is set point for Seongnam ROX. They're trying to take us to another ace match between these two teams. MIRAEN SEJONG wanting to do everything they can to minimize the number of tracks needed to be played, especially as, you know, if it's going to be HoJun that enters the ace match, he does have solos afterwards as well, so you want to make sure you set him up for success.
Oh, absolutely. Lens and Luning right now starting to get a significant lead. It's not anything huge just yet, as Lens will take a very wide outer to avoid any water bombs. This time has to shield it. Picks up another shield. Actually, that was Nock who picked that up here. He's holding on to that Wisp, which was quite critical in the last track of lap 2. See what he can get done with it, but he doesn't have a front runner just yet. Luning is going to be that guy as he wraps around on that wide turn. Gets to keep his shield for now. HoJun and Hero looking for the attack. Hero has that lightning. We'll see if they use it for tempo here or if they want to try to save it. It's always a tough call right now in this meta.
Yeah, I mean, especially just because going into lap 2, the lead player is going to keep their shields, they're going to keep those Guardian Angels. So there's a question of which one do we bait it out with, right? Do you bait it out with the lightning or do you bait it out with something like a missile? We'll have to wait and see. But
well, I mean, they scanned it. The scanner actually saw Hero has the lightning, so that's actually rarely useful in pro play, but in this case, it's going to be quite significant. They used the Angel early regardless, though, and so now they should be a little bit worried, okay, like this might come through. Luning does pick up another one. That's very nice for them because otherwise they know they are sitting ducks here on this final lap.
Oh, so Guard now going for his own scanner. So both teams fairly aware of what the big items are in store. Now Na'Vi, though, picks up a Lightning Bolt right after. So Nock, he's going to have to be ready with that trigger here for the Guardian Angel. It actually just comes through. They don't Guardian Angel it. They're just going to rely on the magnets right now on the side of MIRAEN SEJONG. Guard still in the lead. He's got an EMP as well, so they're believing him.
Big banana!
Oh my gosh, it ties up everyone. Guard, he has to get the lead back so he can tie them up. Now both players going through the shortcut. Guard takes the lead. He's got that EMP at the ready if anyone drags him on with the magnet.
The Wisp isn't going to be as useful, though. High ground jump here. Na'Vi trying to pull ahead. He's past him, and I think he's done it.
Oh, HoJun was going for his own Hail Mary as well, but Na'Vi just gets too much of a lead. And it's going to be Seongnam ROX taking us to the ace match as they finish item mode 4-1.
4-1 dominance here from ROX. And yes, some of those item games were very close, but there was some critical water bombs, especially that changed fate. And then in that final one, the lightning there not really being the game changer. It was just the momentum that they had that was too difficult to break. And Na'Vi with that really nice high ground push, just untouched there. And even the HoJun trying to match, he's not able to do it. It was very close, but now we get to have the conversation about ace match because everything we've predicted so far has come true.
Yes.
Right? MSJ wins speed. It was closer than expected. You end up going into ROX's item territory. They end up winning that. That's kind of our expectation as well. But now we're thinking Luning 100% comes out here. That's the main expectation. Despite BBoong looking good these days, AcidFly also having a great run in solos. But who do you trust? Is it HoJun? Is it Hero here for the side of MSJ? This is your tournament life on the line. You can see the coach is talking to both of them right now. And it's one of the tougher calls that you're going to have to make here.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, Hero, he looked a little shaky during the team matches, right? He had to just start going for these aggressive aggro plays just to draw away attention. He was never really solidly in the lead. Meanwhile, HoJun, he's been put on that pressure to make something happen for his team. However, he also has to play that solo match. Now, obviously, you want to focus a bit more on the team match today because you lose, all of your players are going to be out of the team matches. Of course, HoJun, he's going to have a bit of a break afterwards to prep again for the solos, but curious to see. Meanwhile, you do see Nock trying to join the conversation here. He's trying to help make the decision.
It almost looks like it's HoJun, but you know, for me, like, I think HoJun has had some incredibly high highs this season. He got it done for them last time around as well against Luning when they faced off in the regular season in the ace match. This will be the second time these teams go to ace against each other. But I feel like the consistency Hero has shown is what I would trust here because you never know if HoJun's going to have that 80% highest high or if it's going to be one of the lows. We don't know what the track is going to be just yet. It's going to be revealed in just a moment. Let's see.
The roulette stops
on
Bayside
Bayside Bridge Run. Oh, this is a tough one.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's so many mind games on a track like this, right? It's a wide track. However, there is that ending where you can take the shortcut on the sidewalk, go for the close corner. You can also try to go for a straight boost if you want, even in a 1v1. So lots of mind games to be had. Do you try to just keep the lead, or do you go for an aggressive run right near the end, take over on the shortcut, and then cross the finish line first? With this in mind, I think you might lean back towards HoJun just because of the veterans he has, and that's what it's going to be. MIRAEN and SEJONG, they bring on HoJun. To no one's surprise, Seongnam ROX will be fielding Luning.
Last time they faced off on Mine Rickety Rails, it was Luning who took it. See if HoJun can get revenge this time around. Let's see which HoJun we get. How many risks is he going to take? This is such an incredible 1v1 that's going to determine which team faces Live Sandbox. It's all down to this one final race. Luning, the defending champion in solos, can he do it again?
Luning versus HoJun, they have to face off again right afterwards in the solos as well. But right now, all eyes on them to bring the team further in the playoffs here in the very first season of the KDL. We will find out on Bayside Bridge Run. HoJun in blue taking the lead right off the bat, fielding for MIRAEN and SEJONG. Luning will be in the red, racing for Seongnam ROX. A two-lapper to decide who stays alive in the playoffs of the KDL.
HoJun with a great start here, also has a nitro advantage right now, but Luning just holding that center line as he tries to find an angle while HoJun looks to catch up here. Now falling behind, actually, and we'll have to draft. Luning just blocking, playing an aggressive sweeping game here instead of trying to build a lead and avoid draft range. He knows he's not going to be able to escape HoJun's draft for now. HoJun, he's so good at these 1v1s.
Yeah, and he just had to cut a lot there to try to catch up, as of course Luning went for a lot of those cuts as he was sweeping around the first curve. HoJun regains first, but he tries to go for a stop. It's not going to work out, so Luning with a bit more of a lead than HoJun was willing to give, but HoJun will be in draft range. He should have another opportunity as we get ready for lap number 2.
It's a battle of old versus young here. HoJun, the Emperor, the oldest kart rider player. Luning, a new, young, up-and-coming talent here, and he is trying his best to compete here. HoJun continues to try to take these aggressive inners, but he keeps punishing himself by taking them too greedily. We'll be able to recover here, though, on the outer. This is such an insanely close race.
Yeah,
Both of them even in Nitro as well.
Oh, and HoJun barely edges him out for now, but it really just comes down to one, if not two more opportunities for either player. Now, Luning, he's been getting good reads on HoJun's block, so he's just trying to take the outer lines every single time. It works out again, but HoJun, he should have figured it out by now. Can he keep it up? Both of them staying so calm throughout this 1v1. HoJun takes the lead as we enter the last parts of lap number 2. Luning takes him by. One more opportunity for HoJun as the draft comes in, but Luning does get the block. No, it's not going to be enough. HoJun cuts him off. Luning, the draft comes in, but it's not going to be enough. He bumps HoJun forward, and ladies and gentlemen, MIRAEN and SEJONG stay alive and move on to the lower bracket finals of the very first official KDL playoffs.
HoJun did it. He stayed cool. He stayed cool when it mattered most. He had that extra nitro. He used it perfectly there. Got the block there. Pushed Luning into the wall and then recovered straight into the checkered flag. MSJ, the super team, the story continues, and they will find themselves at worst case scenario in top 3 here. And with the rise we've seen from this team and how much they have delivered, who's to say they couldn't beat Live Sandbox? Who's to say they couldn't prevent us from having another Kwangdong Live Sandbox finals? That next matchup between those two teams is going to be incredible. And as mentioned, HoJun has got to be feeling great about his solos. He's got to be right in the high of this one where his teammates jump up to embrace him as he clutches it in the final parts of that second lap.
I mean, just a great read from HoJun. All of his attempts throughout the first lap and a half don't come to fruition. Luning gets a good read on HoJun's style. He knows that HoJun's been playing more aggressive. He just avoids all battles. And then HoJun says, one more opportunity. I'm just going to make sure I keep a little bit away from the wall. And that's all he needed to stay ahead of Luning. Gets on the sidewalk ahead of him. And that seals the deal as we see yet another close match between the two. But MIRAEN and SEJONG comes out victorious once again.
See Luning giving a little bit of applause there as well. You know, is essentially his way of saying great race, well played, and showing some respect. Is now these two players 1-1 against each other in terms of their ace match results. So they will battle again in solos, as we mentioned, and I think we may see the brewing of a rivalry between these two players as time goes on. But
yeah,
a very, very close series here. ROX dominating item, but Luning couldn't get it done in the end, and HoJun, he stuck the landing, and that's something we haven't always been able to be able to say about him in his recent form, right? Sometimes he has really high highs, but then he'll, you know, take an aggressive risk, as we saw even in those final moments of the ace match. But he pulled it off that time. That time it happened. That time it worked.
Yeah, exactly. And coming into the official first season of the KDL, I feel like HoJun's been finding more of that groove. He's been really increasing that success rate, right? So in the preseason, obviously, he took that defeat to Luning, but now both times here in the KDL first season, every time they faced off against each other in teams, it's gone to that ace match, and HoJun comes out victorious again. You know, just making sure to keep calm. I mean, this time Luning was really in the zone as well, but it came down to that last opportunity, just getting that read 1 second faster, and that puts MIRAEN and SEJONG up in the lower bracket finals on the right side. They are now secured for top 3, but can they make it to the grand finals? We'll have to find out when they face off against Live Sandbox next week.
Yeah, on the 29th, so mark your calendars for that one. That should be amazing.
That should be big. Yeah, that should be huge. I mean, whichever team moves on, the story's there, right? If it's Sandbox, it's the continued rivalry between Live Sandbox and Guangdong Freaks, but if it's MIRAEN and SEJONG, it's HoJun trying to reclaim his throne, continue his legacy alongside old teammates and old apprentices as well on his team. We'll see which story comes to fruition. Both of them with yellow logos as well, so it's going to be a battle of the yellows as they get ready to race against the Guangdong Freaks in red.
It's really crazy that HoJun could have spent the entire preseason, I don't want to say struggling, but not living up to expectations, then go into the first real season of KDL and be the oldest player and the first champion of the team league. That would just be insane.
Yeah.
What a story it could be.
Yeah, I mean, the potential is alive. And for them to even get this far in the playoffs, again, we didn't see that from HoJun throughout the preseasons, but absolutely impressive race. However, it's not over for us. It's not over for HoJun yet either, nor Luning, because both of them will have to continue racing in the final round of the round of 16 solos. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, it's going to be time to find out which 4 players will move on to the final 8. Right after this break, in just a second. We'll just have to wait. The break wasn't quite ready. We were riding the adrenaline high. It happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But this does give us a bit more time to just reminisce about what an impressive team match we just had.
Yeah, and it's sad for ROX too. We spent most of it talking about the glory of HoJun, but for ROX, we'll give him one last final goodbye. Great run this season. Some of those players still playing in solos, of course, as mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully we can see more of them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's going to be the last round of the round of 16 here for the solo matches. 4 racers will move on to the final 8 right after this break.
We gon' dance all day, we gon' dance all night. Let your body go, move it side to side. We gon' dance all day, we gon' dance all night. All we need is here and now. We say hi, we say hey. Throw your hands up, everyone. Yeah, we here to have some fun. We say hi,
4선입니다. 4선.
이중선.
선발선. 신봉선.
들려?
예.
오케이. 세뇨리타, 사디캅, 아미고, 아살라말라이쿠, 사디캅, 헬로 본주르, 아프지마 도토 잠보.
야, 나 하고 싶은 대로 해.
아이 그래도 상의는 하고 해야죠.
아이 뭐야.
아니 그러니까 바로 확정시켜야고 뭘 할지는 알려주고 해야지.
야, 괜찮지 물어보고서 그냥 바로 칼같이 갔다.
미르엔 세종과 데스페라도의 스피드전 벤픽부터 만나보겠습니다.
상대 뭐 가져갈까? 아 랠리 가져가겠지?
마이애미 드라이브 픽이죠? 네. 마이애미.
마이애미 픽했네. 그냥
아이경 갖고 가죠.
아이경
네.
해주세요.
제 3의 픽이 나올 수도 있어. 내 생각에. 오. 아이경?
이제 벤인가?
랠리 밴 한다?
네.
랠리 밴이요?
아니 상대 차례예요. 천천히 좀 하세요.
아니 우리가 먼저 밴이야.
아닌데?
상대로 돼있는데?
아 여기 벤.
너 헷갈리 할 거야?
미안합니다. 감독님 그 쪽발 하지 마시고 카메라에 찍히니까 다리 다 나와요.
아 오케이.
아이템전 벤픽도 준비를 마쳤습니다.
얘네가 버섯을 골라주면 좋겠는데.
버섯 동굴이야. 런나 아니면 하프파이프일 거야.
버섯 나왔다. 바로 런던 하자.
폭포하고 겉톱. 뭐 할까?
폭포가 낫긴 한데 난.
할 거면은 우리 폭포가 낫지 않냐 요즘에?
폭포가 좋아요 요즘.
근데 폭포 상대가 좋아하잖아.
그러니까 쟤는 깰 때.
야 유령하자.
상대방 폭포 지금 승률 맞아.
4, 2, 1 빨리. 유령.
유령해주세요. 아니 폭포 상대방 승률 0이야.
그래요?
그래서 내가 폭포 한다고 했던 거야.
야 우리 할 거 하자.
수상?
우리 준비한 거 꺼내자 그냥.
박지성하고 채굴장 남았는데.
채굴장 안 해? 채굴장 벤
저희 박지성,
채굴장 밴 나왔고
지성박,
우리 밴.
지성박, 지성박.
알았어. 박지성 해주세요. 베네치 할까? 폭포 할까? 폭포.
폭포 먼저 해주세요.
폭포 하자.
베네치아 쟤네가 더.
네네.
야 우리 삼성경패인데? 폭포?
내가 그래서 폭포 하자고 했잖아.
신발 벗고 해야지.
신발 바꾸면 잘해요? 잘 돼요?
집에서 할 때 신발 벗고 하잖아.
양말도 벗어야겠다 그냥.
또 벗어겠다.
오늘 4선입니다. 4선.
이중선,
선발선.
신봉선.
형 터졌어. 근데 그건 생각 못했어. 화난 게 아니었어.
뭐였지?
아니 오늘 4선입니다. 이중선, 38선, 신봉선.
복미선. 지더라도 젖잘싸로 지자고.
그래.
이기면 좋은 거고.
이기면 그만이요. 출구 부담 갖지 말고 커팅 싸움만 이기자.
오케이.
너무 뇌절이나 무리해서 하지 말고.
그냥 잘리지만 말아봐.
그치. 내가 계속 앞에서 충분히 버텨줄 테니까
붙어만.
붙어가자 계속. 파이팅 진짜 크게 해줄게.
오케이.
파이팅 가보자.
하나, 둘, 셋, 파이팅!
팀끼리 약간의 스위칭이 좀 있었고 1, 2, 3 포지션 데스페라도 굉장히 좋게 출발합니다.
나이스인데?
앞에 잡아놨어.
일상. 먼저 나 빨려.
6, 7, 8이야.
호준 대 하나.
봐봐.
하나 뚫렸다.
1번 건뜨는 중.
뒷부가
막아놨어.
나 왼쪽.
오른쪽. 빨렸다 쟤.
하나만 뒷부가.
나 빨았어. 밖에.
네. 자, 이건 앞딜. 한다.
얘 하나 뚫렸다. 셋 뚫렸어.
아직 원투.
장전했습니다. 가드 선수가 가장 좋아하는 포지션이 이거거든요.
나 살짝 뒤로 밀렸다.
죽였어. 나이스.
실수하지
나 뒤에 볼게 이제.
아니 아파요.
형 걔만 봐. 나 스크린 볼게.
이등만 따볼래?
내 빨렸다.
오른쪽.
가으니까.
예정이 가요.
형 막아줘.
안 잡을게.
나이스. 살자 이제.
호준 과독이 들어왔습니다. 남았습니다. 1, 2, 3.
나이스. 잘 뚫었다 우리.
나이.
아 2렙 초반에. 나이스.
2렙 슈가 그냥 나 부스 질러 그냥 다 잡았어.
좋다 저기.
자, 우선은 가드 선수가 1번에 지켰네요. 2, 3, 4를 데스페라도가 지금 차지하고 있긴 하지만 가드 선수가 뒤쪽 라인을 보면서 막아주는 걸 잘하기 때문에
하나 잡아놨다. 1등 주행만.
단순히 막는 것이 아니라
나이스.
밀어줄게.
아 뚫렸다. 찬다.
백업 상대가 더 빨라.
뒤에 커버 쳐놨어. 이거.
나이스. 내가 실패 봐줄게 근데. 어디 한번 뚫려 있어.
빼줄게.
나이스.
나왔어.
봐봐.
나이스. 호준 뒤 둘.
뚫렸어. 나갔어.
1등만 할게.
나. 나이스 상대 실패.
2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4.
유지 좀.
유지해줄게.
1등 막아놨거든.
아 죽었다.
괜찮아. 1등만 따봐.
때려야 돼.
1등 한 번 더 막았어.
1고.
나이스 나이스.
잘 빼줬지.
진짜 빼줬어. 약간 뚫을 때 그렇게 해야 되는 것 같아.
나 일부러 우리 초반 순위 안 좋아서 나 부스 모으고 그냥 부스 안 키고 돌았는데.
나이스였어.
야, 니 1등 잘 잡아놨다.
대신 밀어준 값은 할게.
용씨 차 바꿀 생각 없다.
다들 스피드 지워 기억해서
해보죠.
우리 스피드 안 한 거야.
쫄지 마. 일단 순위로 하다가 상대가 미리 챙길 거니까 아마 우리도 천사 최대한 많이 뛰어서 뒤에가 미리 챙기자.
오케이.
마지막 싸움에서 뭔가 우선순위가 있거든요. 근데 미래의 세종은 그게 없어요.
나 미사일.
하나 더 불러줘.
발이 불러.
대기.
발이도 불러요.
파리.
깔았어.
뒤에 와야겠다.
야 물 조심 여기.
하나 빠졌다.
1파 줄게.
나 파리 와.
여기 꽂아놨어.
쉴드 했어.
오른 1번.
순위로.
먼저 가.
나 파리 와.
1등 들었어.
나이스.
가도 돼.
억순 타줘 템이나.
뭘 해볼래? 진우가? 쉐드 갔다.
물 조심.
나이스.
1번 쏘고.
아물 두개요?
야, 템 풀었어.
물 먼저 해줄래?
빨린 거 해제했어.
오케이.
나부터 아까 물.
1번 길게 칠게. 잠깐만. 짧겠다 소리.
나 맞았다 물.
일단 우유 줄게. 천천히 해봐.
네.
나 미리 출발할게.
발이 살아있다.
나 보내줘.
가도 돼 일단. 물가.
불가.
변했어.
발이 하나.
천. 발이 있다.
아.
나 찔게. 순위로. 해지.
1등을 쳤어.
파주고.
까였다.
우주 맞아. 맞아. 우주했어.
템이 없다.
우주와.
불가. 빨리도 가.
가야 돼.
불가 왔어. 나이스.
미리 출발의 힘이야.
벌써 전술 깨버렸다 이거야.
해버렸어.
좁아지는 구간에 아이템 사용, 특히 사이렌이 굉장히 중요하겠고요.
나 3등 돌렸어.
나 미사일.
2등도 돌렸어. 가면 좋아.
템 다 쓰고
올라갈게. 오케이. 사이렌 잘 나와.
발이 와.
3등 돌렸어.
1등 떨어져.
다 돌렸어. 가봐. 거리 하나.
두 개.
이미 줬어 녹. 이미도 맞아.
1파 줄게. 1파.
앞에 하나야.
오케이.
나 다원이 팔았어.
물 조심. 야물 찐다. 물 찐. 대놓고 찐.
오케이.
나 사이드 했어.
다원이 봐봐. 뒤에 돌릴게.
하나 팔렸어.
짧은 쳤어.
물가 짤.
나이스.
1번 물 쉬고.
아.
물 하나 더.
맞겠다. 끌어줘.
가도 돼. 가도 돼. 물가. 3번 돌릴게. 3번 돌렸어.
이름 끌자.
1파 줬어.
1번 자석이 있거든. 해지 있어.
진짜 아프다.
해지. 해지 당했어.
3일 썼어.
미들부터.
4번 멀긴 해.
바나나가 그래도 포기하지 않고 마지막 아이템을 향해 질주하는데요.
혼자 해야 돼.
1미. 오케이. 상천.
일단
일단 다 싸줘.
1등 쓰면 좋아.
물 잡았어.
나이스. 우주야. 해제했어. 천.
천사의 강과 함께 그대로 경기를 끝내버립니다.
고생.
고생.
까비.
좋았어. 나이스.
잘 잡았다. 잘했다.
Check my name in your mouth, better add your respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck when I burn you like. This ain't a game, my aim is to throw. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone, throw it off in my brain and I'm bad to the bone.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We continue with tonight's Kart Rider Drift League. We just wrapped up the lower bracket semifinals of the team matches. MIRAEN and SEJONG will be moving on to face Live Sandbox, and now we get ready for the last part of the round of 16 in the solo matches.
It's going to be a good night of Kart Rider. We already had a banger first match. Let's talk about the overview here for solos because you can see the entire schedule. If you zoom into the round of 16 final match on today's date, you can see that is where we currently are. So top 4 will move on to the finals, and I look at this, the lineup of players we're about to take a look at, and it's stacked. It's all the players who barely made it through out of the losers match, and then those who lost in the winners. You can take a look at some of their records as well. Neil is still just killing it. He's everywhere. ByungSu as well.
Live Sandbox is just dominating the solos right now, and meanwhile, Cool is just like, yeah, I just win tracks on my own. Like, I don't know where my teammates are. Of course, Cool also setting some crazy records for us by getting the 3-in-a-row victories, twice actually, both in the very first round of the round of 16 in his own group, and then in the winners match as well. So he's been kind of cleaning house in the solos. But however, overall, Live Sandbox players continuing to set some good records for themselves.
Here's our group that we have, our final match here. HyunSu, Luning, SUNGBIN, BBoong, ByungSu, JiMin, AcidFly, and HoJun himself will actually be the orange racer for this one. You can see that we already have our top 4 decided. Cool, Neil, Knock, and Hero. World, Will, Striker, and Ding were eliminated in that lower bracket match. Yeah,
World being eliminated, and maybe even Ding to a certain point, kind of surprising, but I think it just goes to show how stacked of a lineup we've had this very first season of the KDL here in the solos. I mean, even Will has been kind of a player that a lot of pros have been looking at and saying he could do some damage here. And then Striker, he was continuing to rise and float to the top, but unfortunately those 4 are eliminated. And now, as you mentioned, Wolf, you take a look at the final match lineup, any of these players could be joining the top 4 already in the finals.
Got 8 racers to introduce to you guys in order of seeding, and it is going to be a race that, for some of these players who are out of the team league, is going to be the last potential play that they have this season, the first initial season here. HyunSu will be the gold racer, our highest seed here, did place 5th in the winners match to end up getting the gold seed. That is the higher seed that you would get rather than losers, and since he was 5th, it makes sense that he's gold. Yeah, just barely not making it over to the finals in the top 4. And of course, just giving a shout out to the nicknames of his teammates there, saying let's all go up together to the final 8. Luning, we just saw him in the team matches. Unfortunately, wasn't able to win in the ace match, but as inconsistent as he has been compared to his old record, that's because his old records have been so good. I mean, he won, the solo matches in preseason too, and he's been continuously showing up here again in the very first season. Here's SUNGBIN, our 3rd racer here, the red racer for this one. Should I follow Cool or Spear?
Should I move up or should I move down?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bit of a jab at his own teammate here, but for all intents and purposes, hopefully it is going to be Cool, as he has been topping the charts here overall for these solo matches.
BBoong, a player who really has surprised a lot of people this season in terms of his individual performance. It's potentially going to be his best performance ever career. If he can make it through here to the finals, that would be amazing for him. Looking a little tired today, we mentioned it earlier, but hopefully he can give his best performance here. And then moving on to ByungSu, the Live Sandbox player here, 2 of his teammates. And this one we already talked about, HyunSu. JiMin is the next racer in line, the green racer. Let me get to the finals too. We'll see, he's at a flat 5 points. So kind of a pension meta type guy so far this season.
Yeah, and I mean, he drew a lot of attention in the very first preseason. He even worked with HoJun for one of those preseasons, and hopefully he can continue to prove himself here alongside another teammate from Live Sandbox. It's going to be JiMin, and he just wants a really good starting boost, and that's going to matter a lot, right? I mean, it's a free-for-all. If he can get that lead, that's so much more breathing room than trying to have to catch up by going for these aggressive cuts.
The next racer on the list is my personal big underdog pick. It's AcidFly. He just got defeated in the team match earlier today. AcidFly never dies. I love that.
Okay.
Writing it in English, and it's what his sign says there as well. But he has suddenly just seen lines that no one else can see. He jumps from 6th to 2nd to 1st. Like, he is finding angles in solos He's predicting people's movements so incredibly well. And this guy is the opposite of a dark horse. He says, please, Taebaer,
That's
he wants so badly to go in. He wants to be in the finals. It's like a Google search of like who's in the finals. It's
Yeah,
like, it's
I love
me.
it. Yeah. It's a neat little idea. He searches for who makes it to the finals, and it's just pictures of him. It's a good sign here, and hopefully all that support and the momentum he just had from the team matches carry on, because what a story it would be if he returns to pro play and he's able to make it to the finals and potentially both the solos and teams in the very first official season of the KDL.
Yeah, I mean, if he could do it, it would be insane.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we get ready for the very first track. Whoever gets first place will be choosing the tracks afterwards, and it begins on World Tour Terracotta Twister. And the race begins. HoJun starting in the middle of the pack, just trying to maintain a starting boost as long as possible. And then once things thin out, he's going to start to go for these cuts. And that actually leaves a huge opening for AcidFly to get a massive lead right off the bat.
This is actually an insane lead to get this early on this track. We talked about the indoor portion being where you don't want to be in the midfield. The risk is so high of getting attacked by somebody else or getting knocked off in that chaos when it narrows out on that second turn inside. But the gap that he has right now, unless HyunSu gets a nice draft off from more aggressively nitros here, he should be able to avoid that midfield completely. Luning very aggressively going to try to nitro his way across, and let's see how this turn goes.
Just barely staying alive, but he actually finds a good opening there right next to AcidFly. AcidFly actually played a bit safer. He didn't want to take the risk against HyunSu and Luning, so willing to give the lead for the time being. But look at Luning. He is not giving up any space as he rises all the way to first place.
Yeah, you can see the difference in taking that safe line and just saying, they're too close to me, I don't want to risk falling off. It doesn't, you know, it pays off in that you don't fall off, but the risk of losing first and then dropping to fifth is so high just from a small slowdown like that. AcidFly loses all sorts of control, but those are the types of lines, holy hell, that I'm talking about with this guy. He slides his way through. Is it going to be able to hold on to that spot, but a nice attempt nonetheless.
Yeah, and HoJun just battles it out amongst that midfield. We talked about it, and it's continuing once again. Everyone had bunched up for a bit. HoJun gives up a bit of too much space as he tried to set up for the next turns, but he's not going to be able to recover that placement. Meanwhile, BBoong has risen to that top four. Can he maintain it to the ending? Right now, Luning up front. BBoong some good blocks, but he bumps HyunSu off. That's all but secured 8th place for HyunSu in this very first track. Meanwhile, SUNGBIN versus Luning. SUNGBIN, he's known for his aggression. He's trying to find an opening, but BBoong says, why fight for first when you can just race for first? Can he keep on? No, it's going to be SUNGBIN. Catches on right after the boost, and SUNGBIN gets the 10 points in track number 1.
Yeah, Luning finishes the track with 2 nitros there, just not able to find the angle he was looking for, and will drop down to 3rd. Very opportunistic play there from BBoong. Almost takes the first place on the podium, but it will be SUNGBIN who passes him there in the end, and will be our first winner here. The Red Racer will have track selection for round 2. Very close race, though. Again, just like what we saw in our losers match there as well. Lots of back and forth. You never know who's going to take it until the end. Despite Luning's fantastic start, he slips down to 3rd. AcidFly really having some huge opportunities, but drops down to 7th. And HyunSu, the gold racer, will start with -1.
Yeah, just got bumped off there by BBoong right at the end, and he just can't get out of 8th place. That's a rough one. HoJun, of course, you know, he started in the middle of the pack, ends in the middle of the pack. Not a bad start, but again, we've seen some racers get really close or even secure the 3 in a row like Cool did. So this race could end at any moment. So every track is going to matter. That whole go for the long run, go for the pension meta, not going to be as reliable as we take a look at SUNGBIN's pick. He wants to take us to an old-time favorite. We are going to get ready for track number 2 as we go into Glacier Extreme Stadium.
Track 2 underway here. SUNGBIN takes the first race here. Will lag behind off the starting block, though, in 8th now. Bump there from ByungSu pushes him into the wall, and it's Luning. Once again has a fantastic start, this time battling with HoJun at the front of the pack.
Yeah, HoJun, he's always showed how much he enjoyed this track. He was trying to go for a good block there on Luning, but Luning's just going to swerve right out of the way. That gives an opening for BBoong. And Luning, despite the aggression, he's always been able to recover so well, both in team matches and solos. We'll see if he's able to maintain at least a podium finish. I mean, if you get in the top 3 every time, even if someone gets those 30 points in a row, you should be safe to make it to the finals.
BBoong taking some really aggressive inners there and then tried to really force the issue on that one and drops back massively into 8th. Look how far behind he is. He's a full hairpin behind. SUNGBIN will take these turns nicely. Luning maintains the lead here on the first hairpin set. ByungSu looking for the aggressive jump here, but Luning blocks him there, takes the wide. AcidFly in fourth, and HoJun continues to battle up in the podium position.
Ooh, good recovery from HoJun as ByungSu cuts him very aggressively. He's not going to go for that battle any longer. HoJun knows there's still quite a bit of track left, and he edges right into first place. SUNGBIN and Luning, though, right on his tail. And JiMin and ByungSu also, I mean, the Live Sandbox players not wanting to be out of this race just yet.
JiMin really fighting hard here. He's going to have to really avoid some collisions here before we get to those hairpins. We're getting closer now. As SUNGBIN wants to get the back-to-back here, takes that inner, doesn't make the same mistake BBoong did, actually did it conservatively enough to actually not lose too much speed.
Ooh, and HoJun with the heads-up play, he goes wide ahead of time, knows there's going to be collisions, avoids the entire pack, and he's going to be able to secure at least second place, gets the draft as well around the last hairpin. Can he get the boost in time to cut off JiMin? He's going for the inner line. JiMin goes for a block, and HoJun says, you know what, we don't have to battle it any further. I am content with second place.
Being content with second place is not something we've always said about HoJun in the last few solo matches. A lot of the time taking extreme risks on that final jump turn to look for first, but he'll take second this time around. He's really learned, he's changed a lot. The plays we saw from him today outside of the ace match, of course, showed a little bit more conservative nature, but you want to pick up yet another win. They had a very great performance, of course, in that losers match to end up here, and he'll take first place. So when we take a look at this final scores here, of course, Luning will pick up 5 on the third place again, a top finish, and 4 actually, excuse me, tied at 11. Luning just down there at 5th, so a pretty large gap between the top 5 and 6.
Yeah, this is it's gonna be a close one as we can see, but for those players at the bottom, you know, you've got ByungSu and AcidFly, even HyunSu, you know, the gold racer. They're gonna have a lot of work ahead of them if you want to start to close the gap and get into that top 4 to make it to the final 8 here.
Shanghai Circuit will be the track selection here for JiMin in this third round. Will we see a repeat victory? Let's find out.
JiMin takes us to a bit of a field track here, going on to the WKC theme. This time it's going to be Shanghai Circuit. He's going to be able to start in the top half. We'll see if he can keep that lead, as this is once again a free-for-all here in the solo matches.
Certainly is. Taking that shortcut here, everyone avoids the tires, but AcidFly comes out on top. Luning the one in focus here, going to try to boost early to get that very nice inner, but it's not enough to actually catch up with AcidFly. He's battling with HoJun as well at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, all eyes for me on HyunSu as well. We were just following him for the majority of that first lap, and he has so much work he has to do to try to just get in range. Because again, at any moment, any of these racers get 3 first places in a row, and he would just be knocked out immediately as the gold racer here in the very last part of the round of 16.
Yeah, he's really been struggling, still hovering in 5th right now. The gap between him and qualification right now is at least 8 points, so really needs to look for a podium finish here, and that kind of line is what you can do to get it. That pushes himself into top 3 here now. Nitro's pretty even across the board right now. Everyone is taking about as standard as it gets in terms of lines here, but Luning holding that advantage. JiMin sees an opportunity.
Yeah, just rises all the way to the top 4 right now, breaking apart those Seongnam ROX players as they were just trying to contend for first place. Meanwhile, HoJun, he's been playing it safe. He gets pushed down to 6th place, 5th place now, and ByungSu tries to take way too close of a line, bumps against the guardrail, and he is going to get knocked all the way back down to 7th place. Luning also trying to greed for a cutoff on JiMin. These racers are just greeding to try to get into first place, and that allows JiMin to get his 2nd first place in a row.
Back to back here, JiMin. Oh man, he's feeling the pressure. He's clutching his chest, but he clutched it out so hard. He took that angle better than anybody else, found the diagonal, that everybody else started to panic, like, wow, JiMin's found this incredible line, but I have extra nitro. I'm going to push through and then pass him and take the better inner. Luning in particular, the biggest victim of his own greed there, and goes straight from 3rd to 8th there. And we'll finish with a -1 scoreline. So this is really going to shake up the top 4 here. As you can see now, it's SUNGBIN is the cutoff line, still at 11, but Luning down at 9. And you know, we do have a very clear top 4 now, despite it being only 2 points between SUNGBIN and Luning. The gap starts to widen significantly. And if JiMin wins this next race on his 2nd track selection, it's over. It's done. We'll draw the line.
And man, I will tell you, if I had to pick any one racer to get 3 in a row in this final round of 16, it would not have been JiMin, but he's 1 step away as he takes us to Mexico Touring Rally.
off we go here. Mexico Touring Rally where JiMin could end it all. It's his track selection here, and all it's going to take is his win here, and we will have our finals decided. Not saying it's going to happen, but at least he has his own track selection here. It's a one-lapper, and it's very, very hard to catch up if you fall behind on this one. But there are a few opportunities, of course, low and high grounds here to wrap around. So a bad start, like what Luning has here, is not something you can't recover from.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some possibility. And meanwhile, JiMin, he is going to eventually have to yield that front of the pack. He'll have another opportunity coming up soon enough. Meanwhile, ByungSu, he is all the way down for 4 points right now at the bottom of the scoreboard. So he would like nothing more than to get a first place, not just to break off JiMin on his run, but just to try to catch up on the leaderboard so far. He finally gets first place, even if it's just for a few seconds at the time being.
ByungSu holding on to this one. HoJun battling with him. JiMin grabbing another nitro here, looking like he's going to get that second one. Tosses it out here. Not the greatest line for him. Let's see if he can find an angle as we're getting closer and closer to the end of the track. That's not the line he's looking for. That might be the end of the triple.
Yeah, he just barely bumps off there. HoJun with a nice stop against BBoong. He's just trying to keep that first place, but another bump on HoJun as well, and that leaves way for HyunSu. Now SUNGBIN trying to aggress towards it, but HoJun's going to recover in between all these opponent racers. He's just cutting them off so he can try to take the closer line, and he will do so, but HyunSu, the draft comes in along with the boost. Can he get first place? He barely comes out 1/2 a second ahead of HoJun, and HyunSu with his first place finish here in the final round of 16.
Finally, HyunSu will bounce back as the gold racer and pick up those 10 points and make it more competitive here. It was looking really worrisome for him. He had a few decent finishes, but now he feels very comfortable as long as he can continue to race well, that he has a great chance of getting out of this group. JiMin will finish 8th place after that mistake there on the lower ground, and will lose a point. So we're resetting now the 3 streak, and we're still very far away from this being anywhere close to finish. 23 points here for HoJun. We're still 27 away from him qualifying to the 50 and ending our race in general. AcidFly down at 6 points. One of my big picks for somebody to watch out for today, but he's been anything but lethal at this point. But there's still a lot of race left. There's still a lot of opportunities to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a point gap that can't be recovered, right? We're still, like you said, more than halfway away even from the top scorer in HoJun. So we'll find out as we go to the next pick from HyunSu. It's going to be World Tour Miami Drive. The gold racer HyunSu finally recovers his place in first, and now he's continuing to take that lead right off the bat, just barely making sure he goes on. He actually just chooses to take that second booster as well, just trying to widen the gap as much as possible from the get-go.
Yeah, you always see that, but trying to get that extra edge, and it is going to pay off for him for now. ByungSu, a small nitro advantage, is going to try to utilize that here to pass him and be the first one to take this boost pad. Successful there, parries it into the second one, and SUNGBIN actually, HyunSu looks for the block there, and he just recovers from it perfectly, and now HyunSu drops back to 5th.
Yeah, HyunSu's going to try to make sure he keeps that inner line. He's going to be successful, but that actually forces everyone to kind of swerve off as they try to recover, and BBoong finds a good opening to get back into contention in second and first place.
SUNGBIN almost escaped from the pack there. He's on the edge of it, but he's not quite able to break free, so he's going to continue to bounce around here in what is essentially a pinball machine of a first lap right now, as everyone is just trading places. AcidFly, the unlikely hero, will grab first for a moment, but this is anyone's race to take right now, William.
Yeah, I mean, SUNGBIN, sure, he's constantly been in this podium finish range, but we've been trading places for first. ByungSu back in the running, but Luning shows up out of nowhere. And meanwhile, AcidFly, he's still got an opportunity. The draft comes into play for both him and Luning. Luning trying to see if he can get that opening. ByungSu's going to recover. He goes for another wide cut, and then he's going to be able to bounce onto that boost pad first.
ByungSu here just starting to widen the gap. He and Luning above SUNGBIN. SUNGBIN, though, still in draft range here, is going to utilize one to try to close it, as we are getting very, very close. Will Luning finally actually win one of these races? It's as close as he's been, but SUNGBIN stealing away again.
Yeah, SUNGBIN and HoJun had the same idea, but SUNGBIN was just a hair ahead, and he's able to contend once again for first, but Luning, he recovers it, and now everyone's still in the middle of the pack. ByungSu goes against the wall. He's knocked all the way back down to 8th place. Meanwhile, the race, it looks like it's between SUNGBIN and Luning. HoJun, can he break them apart? No, Luning's going to bounce forward, and Luning will get first place finally here in the very last round of the final 16.
Yeah, really well played from from Luning there. Looked like maybe that final turn he took a little bit too wide, lost too much speed, but he realized he had just enough nitro build there that he could actually get one final boost before everybody else if he took that line. And he was just able to calculate that and have that final boost to come through as the first racer there. So he'll take another first place, well, his first of this race so far, this group rather. 10 points go to him. And the gap here, you know, between top 4 and bottom 4, very close. BBoong and JiMin both sitting at 19 points, HyunSu at 18. It's really only AcidFly and ByungSu who are struggling thus far, but for everybody else, it's still possible. And it is still possible for ByungSu and AcidFly as well, as it's going to take a bit of an uphill battle. But we saw AcidFly bounce back last time to get here. Maybe he could do it again.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. You get, 1, 2 first places in a row. You flip the board just like JiMin did earlier today. But for now, we will be moving on to Luning's pick of Zigzag Timberland.
Off we go here in round 6. HoJun still the leader, but it still feels like we're nowhere near 50 points. He is sitting at 28 right now. Still, any one of these 8 racers can get out of this group and go to the finals.
Yeah, Luning trying to make his own three-peat happen right now, just contending for the podium. And HoJun, I mean, again, he is in the lead for now, but you can tell he's starting to feel the pressure just a bit. More racers are trying to catch up to an overall point, so he wants to make sure he's at least in the podium, continue to take the lead a bit further on the scoreboard.
Absolutely. BBoong occupying the first place right now. HyunSu with an additional nitro. See what he can get out of it. Oh, blocked by HoJun there. Isn't going to feel good to use your nitro like that, but it's not his fault. It's just a good play from HoJun. As this top 4, bit of a gap here between the bottom 4. Midfield kind of non-existent here as HoJun with some slick moves to take first.
I mean, basically just goes right under BBoong as he jumps from a collision, and BBoong's going to fall all the way down to 8th, and SUNGBIN had to slow down on that recovery as well. So HoJun, a bit of breathing room, but SUNGBIN, aggressive as ever. He's still in contention as Luning tries to recover his place.
I mean, HoJun almost got into time trial territory there for a second. He's just not racing against anybody. He's racing against his own ghost, but Luning now trying to catch up with him here. He couldn't get out of draft range. It's a very competitive top 3 here. HoJun still holds onto it for now, especially with that collision from Luning. ByungSu takes the inner, but HoJun's block is too good.
Yeah, HoJun just bumps ByungSu back. However, this gives that opening for SUNGBIN, right? So HoJun, good recovery, but SUNGBIN was not part of that battle, and he's able to shoot back forward into first place. Still anybody's race as we got those hairpins coming up. Several more draft opportunities. We'll see if HoJun takes when he's trying to set up. He's pressuring for that inner line, trying to get a read on SUNGBIN, but he has to worry about Luning right behind as well.
Yeah, maxed out on nitro, not getting much from that cut there, but he does have one left here, gets the advantage as we're getting closer to the end of this track, but he can't block 2 racers.
No, too many to have to worry about HoJun. He's got to pick his battles. I mean, he is in the lead right now. He has to consider the overall points as well. Luning, once again, a bit too aggressive, is going to collide against the track. HoJun trying to get the cuts across SUNGBIN, and they're just trading back and forth, and ByungSu wants a piece of the pie, but it's going to be HoJun once again trying to push through. No, Luning just edges him out. HoJun loses too much speed, and ByungSu and SUNGBIN will be shooting forward. JiMin actually showing up out of nowhere to get second place as well.
That race was so insanely close from start to finish, and if you could put a percentage on who held first place the longest, you'd put it at like 85 for HoJun. He was there 85% of the race. He does not even break top 4 though, because he greeds a little bit on his nitros to try to actually have that lead of the pack there. He runs out of steam and the rest of the pack catches up. That pushes him down all the way to 6th place. He'll pick up only 1 point from one of his most beautiful races we've seen in this group, and that's how cutthroat Kart Rider Drift is. You make one mistake, you overcalculate, you're like, I need to get first, and then you'll drop back to 6th. He still maintains first place, but the lead he had now has shrunk so much. It's only 1 point that separates him from first and second. He's shaking his head. This group's not ending anytime soon.
No, but he still wants to just make sure his fans trust in him, gives that thumbs up. We'll see if he can keep that smile up for the rest of the races as well. As you mentioned, Wolf, this is getting closer than ever as we now prepare for the next pick. We are going to be going to Mine Gold Rush. ByungSu finally getting a taste of the pie as he gets his pick on Mine Gold Rush. He did have to start on the edge here, so just going for one single cut before he gets ready for the downhill slope.
18 points for him after picking up those 10, so keeping his chances alive, but he still has a few more he needs behind HyunSu and Luning by 5, 4 and 5 respectively. JiMin taking the lead here as well, picking up a ton of points, 7 from that second place finish on the last track, really putting himself into the running for qualifying for the finals. HyunSu holds first for now. HoJun again in podium position. Can he hold it is always the question. ByungSu, that was a really risky play, but no one collides with him, and he'll be rewarded.
Yeah, and it's going to be SUNGBIN still holding on to the lead for the slight time being. See if anyone makes any aggressive plays. No, but ByungSu will just coast as the other two players are battling against each other. He's able to maintain his speed around that corner. We saw AcidFly for a glimpse there, just trying to go for these aggressive swift cuts, trying to get just a bit extra boost so he can try to catch up, but he's way far behind in 8th place.
ByungSu is just awoken suddenly in this group, and he is racing like his life depends on it right now in this second lap here, maintaining first no matter what. No one can cross this man. He's taken this extremely tight inner. BBoong matches him, but then can't pass him. Trying to draft past here as SUNGBIN sees an opportunity to keep himself in top 3 as JiMin takes an insane inner there and somehow manages to avoid collision with anybody. We're getting very close now, taking another tight inner off the jump.
And JiMin, he does hold on to the lead for now. HoJun's trying to find an opportunity. He's able to maintain his top speed for just a bit longer, but there is a bit of a gap. Meanwhile, ByungSu, does he have an opportunity? Can he get the draft? No, he's going to get blocked off, and Luning will be shooting forward as HoJun even passes ByungSu in for 3rd place.
You never know until you cross the checkered flag who's going to win. It looks good for somebody, and then you just don't know until you get there how it's going to end up, because that was an insanely close race. And Luning gets the final win there. Also jump back there, or jump through for HoJun. Will pick up 5 points himself. It's very close. I actually have to see the final standings to see if HoJun still holds first place. I think he might have been passed actually now by Luning, who picks up his 2nd win. Nope, he's just 1 point behind. Just 1 point behind Luning and JiMin at 33 each. But we're down to potentially 2 more races to finish the group if HoJun can pull it off. If he gets a top 2 and a 1st place. Same with Luning and JiMin. There are 3 players that can get top 2 and a win, and the group is finished.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's starting to get close to that finish line, but again, if some of these players on the bottom half get that 1st place, break apart things, you know, maybe players like HoJun and Luning, they fall down to 8th. That suddenly extends the solos for just a bit longer. Waiting to see the pick. It's going to be snowbound slopes coming in from Luning as he tries to take over HoJun in this next round in round 8.
Very intense final match here of the round of 16. We're in our 8th round right now. No one can finish it here. We're going at least 10. JiMin holds the lead right now. This is our 2-lap track, snowbound slopes. This one can be very, very cutthroat. If you make one mistake with these narrow tracks, you're going to have multiple collisions. You will lose all of your momentum. So it's very important to try to get ahead early, as JiMin has, and then take as tight a lines as you can. You do not want to fall to the midfield.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have a couple opportunities once you pass by these caves, but even then, sure, there's a little bit of build variety, but if you don't have to contend, you're going to be able to just really cut your way all the way in between these trees. So as we see JiMin doing right now, all he has to do is worry about AcidFly. Oh, yeah, okay, gonna collide against the track just a little bit, and that allows Luning to catch up for just a bit of extra distance.
Yeah, JiMin instantly nitros there to recover, though. Very nicely done. Has actually built up one extra one, but you see he's a little bit behind some of these other racers and will eventually fall behind because of it. Better to nitro there and recover than to just sit back and fall to 6, because then you're going to be really struggling on so many of these tracks, tight parts. Now going into the ski jump to reset the lap here. BBoong actually in pole position with that nitro at the ready. I was going to say, why is he in pole position? It wasn't really, it was the trick of the
yeah, the lift there,
the lift.
It just kind of mixes it up as they go forward, but it is going to be a HoJun. Now, as they were entering the lift as well, he had some good blocks against ByungSu while he's getting his extra cuts. So just trying to maintain the lead for the time being. A good draft from Luning, but Luning also understands the mission. I mean, he tried to go for battle here, and you might lose all momentum, fall all the way down to 8th place. Just gonna play it safe. Actually relies on HoJun making an unforced error.
This is the moment where you prove that you're a courageous racer, right? And I think HoJun is the one of these top 4 that we're looking at right now who is going to take the big risk. Doesn't find an opportunity just yet. Actually takes an opportunity to cut for some extra nitro there. That was very greedy. Let's see what he can do out of this jump here. This is really going to be the defining moment here for Luning as SUNGBIN attempts the pass. Big turn.
Yeah, and SUNGBIN, he's been storing up just a bit extra nitrous as well. Good recovery against HyunSu and HoJun. So SUNGBIN holding on to second place, just trying to pressure Luning, but Luning's constantly got that double boost. Is it going to be enough? SUNGBIN, he might be content just holding on to second place, just trying to make sure he gets a couple extra points. As we see Luning, he's trying to cross the finish line first. HoJun will pass by, though, and HoJun another boost. Oh, he's so close, but it will be Luning for yet another first place.
And now Luning is going to take first place in the standings as well. He will pass HoJun with the additional 3 points he gets. He should be 2 points ahead now at 43, if I'm not mistaken. So a first or second finish, like I mentioned, will actually end this group for Luning. If he finishes first, he will also have the back-to-back-to-back. It won't matter because he will have gained 50 points anyways, but still, he'll at least be able to be on that list of three-peats here in solos. A very short list at the moment, but he'll be the second racer to do it here at our first season of KDL with a new inclusion of this rule. HoJun will also end the group, but only if he takes first place. If it's HoJun and Luning both getting top two, then we will, of course, see two racers with a plus 50 scoreline. If you are ByungSu right now, this is the most important race of the tournament. You have to do better than your competition right at the end. He's a point or two behind the ones he's competing with in terms of qualification. And if you're on the lower end, AcidFly, you're pretty much doomed. If you're BBoong, you're hoping that these top players don't make it through in the top two.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of conditions here, but we'll have to wait and see. First of all eyes on Luning as he takes us to his next pick. It's going to be Factory Facility 5. Luning dressed in black here as he tries to make sure he closes things out. Getting first place would absolutely secure not only the top 50 points, but also the three-peat to make sure he moves on in that 5th place for the final 8. However, HoJun also just trying to get a better seeding here in the final 8.
Taking a look at ByungSu right now. He and HyunSu, teammates, 1 point apiece between them. You're going to forget about Live Sandbox for a minute because this is now your chance to make it to the finals. And that was very scary.
Oh man, SUNGBIN, he's able to recover just a bit, but he almost gets knocked into the abyss. He's going to climb right back into the top 4 though.
He certainly will. ByungSu racing again so well here where it matters most. The 1-lap track. It's a fairly short one. We'll see if he can stick the landing here. If he can outcompete HyunSu by 2 points, then he's very likely, of course, going to qualify. Luning in 6th right now, so, you know, we're not necessarily done just yet.
Yeah, I mean, Luning's not quite able to finish. Neither is HoJun. HoJun needs that first place as well. Luning needs either first or second, so there's still a bit of an opportunity, and HyunSu knows that this is happening. HyunSu wants to make sure he gets to the first place. He actually swerves a bit too far as he tries to recover off the drop, and Luning now looking to finish this very final match in the round of 16. He's actually just trying to put the nail in the coffin.
Oh, poor HyunSu, he's dropped back to 7th here. This might actually knock him out of the finals here because we're going to see Luning win it. He's going to get the three-peat here, and ByungSu takes 3rd. He should pass HyunSu to qualify here. A tragedy for HyunSu here on this race. Our gold racer not going to make it through, but Luning, a story of the defending champion. He will return to the finals in glorious form. 3 wins in a row, and will crest 50 points as well, 53 to make that line, dropping it into top 4. Luning with a great performance after a loss in the ace match as well. He really showed up in this solo.
And ByungSu just 1 point away. If he had gotten second place, he would have made it in, but JiMin, with the 2 first places he had earlier on in the race, he's able to continue into 33 points. Barely crosses the finish line and will be moving on to the final 8.
I thought ByungSu was in for sure, but JiMin just 1 point ahead.
Wow.
And I mean, wow, both of those Sandbox players out here, and JiMin will be the only one who makes it through with Luning and HoJun. The Emperor, great racing tonight from HoJun. Really shored up some of the inconsistencies we saw from him in the last 2 solo groups he played in, dropping down to losers, having to fight his way through there, narrowly making it through. But today, I think a statement race from him. He wins the ace match, and he's going to be in the finals for solo, and he may very well, if he can continue to be the leader for his team, be in both finals.
Yeah, I mean, HoJun really making a statement, right? After all these years, he returns to the stage, keyboard in hand, and he's able to carry on, try to compete for that trophy. So he will be living on. But man, Luning, what a good recovery story here, because a lot of us were worried, are we not going to see a repeat once again, right, going into the finals? I mean, Luning's starting to look shakier and shakier. He was taking a lot more risks, but he says, no, I'm back. Not only do I cross the 50-point line, but I too will put my name on the three-peat Hall of Fame.
Yeah, just 2 of those this season. That's all we're going to get because we don't have that rule set in the finals. So we'll see what happens in the next season of KDL. But Luning squeaks by on the final race to get 3. Doesn't end the group early, but it still counts as a three-peat.
Yeah, absolutely. You still got to put it down for the record. HoJun with a healthy 45 points as well. So while he doesn't move up in first place here, you know, being able to get that 5th seed in the final 8, still a very, very solid race. And obviously a bit more time bought until the final 8 of the solos. SUNGBIN and JiMin will be following up afterwards to round out our last race of the solos.
Yeah, really should be an exciting conclusion to what has been an amazing season for these players. You know, I had high hopes for BBoong and AcidFly, 2 players who I think really came in as dark horses in their groups to come here in the first place, and they didn't deliver today, unfortunately. But you know, it's stiff competition with how JiMin is racing, with how we're seeing Luning come out, and the improvements we saw from HoJun. It's just a tough group to get out of.
Yeah, I mean, this was very tough. Again, we can see, I mean, ByungSu was so close. HyunSu, one that you would expect to actually make it in to the final 8. And then, as you mentioned, BBoong and AcidFly, they had been showing good recovery. However, that is actually going to be the end of their journey overall. They just got eliminated earlier tonight from the team matches. And, of course, now they are eliminated from the solos. They will be finishing in the round of 16. Well, that wraps it up for all the matches tonight. Of course, we still have more of the season left, and we're going to review how things panned out right now, because what a night we had.
Yeah, we had a very exciting team match to kind of start things off this evening, where we knew that there was a clear, well, I wouldn't say clear favorite, but there was a favorite, right?
Yes.
And not a clear favorite, and our expectation that it would go to Ace and that ROX would win item came true. It was really the Ace match that was the most exciting part of it all, and the speed was very close. ROX almost actually took that, and then if they had, they would have won the series 2-0. You know, it's very small margins here. But MIRAEN and SEJONG will end up taking it and will face Live Sandbox in that losers final.
Yeah, so just good showings from both teams, but at the end of the day, MIRAEN and SEJONG just able to stay a bit more focused. I mean, making sure that they can get that comeback win in speed mode was so huge. And then you send HoJun out, the veteran, into the ace match. He's still able to stay in the zone, get a read on Luning during the first lap, eventually is able to course correct himself into victory in the last part of lap 2 on Bayside Bridge Run. And MIRAEN and SEJONG lives on. They will be moving on to the lower bracket finals to face off against Live Sandbox.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that bracket in just a moment to show you guys what it kind of looks like at the end here for teams. Only have 2 matches left. There it is. Live Sandbox against MIRAEN and SEJONG on the 29th. And then, of course, just a little bit later on, the winner of that match will face against Kwangdong Freaks. Let's see if Kwangdong could be the first Car Rider Drift champions. They're preseason 1 and 2 champions, but this one's the one that goes on the record.
Exactly. I mean, you got to imagine there's a bit of pressure for Kwangdong Freaks, right? Because if you lose here, it's like, well, is anyone even going to remember us anymore after the preseasons? Because the one that goes in the book is going to be this trophy, the first official trophy of the KDL. Curious to see who will rise up to challenge them, as overall they have seemed unbeatable in team matches so far. Of course, the finals is going to be an extra week later, but next Wednesday is going to be Live Sandbox versus MIRAEN and SEJONG. And after that, of course, tonight we did have the solo matches we just wrapped up. It was the final match of the round of 16. We were looking to find 4 more racers moving on to the finals, and we see it there. It's going to be Luning, SUNGBIN, JiMin, and HoJun.
So the finals will be Cool, Neil, Knock, Hero, Luning, SUNGBIN, JiMin, and HoJun. A pretty insane lineup. If you look at it, 3 of the 4 MIRAEN and SEJONG players are in this finals. We'll only have 2 Live Sandbox representatives, and we're going to have 2 Kwangdong representatives as well here. So, you know, we're kind of lining up, I think, in some ways with the results of the team league as well as the team representation going into top 8 here for the finals.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting one, though, for sure. So just make sure that you're catching all the remaining broadcasts. We only have 3 more left, right? Just 2 more matches in the team matches and 1 final match for the solos. Of course, for those who haven't watched KDL before, the solo matches in the final 8, we go through the point system, and then it goes down to a 1v1 as well. So lots of excitement awaiting us. Take a look at the upcoming upcoming schedule for our next matches as we near the very end of our first season of the KDL. It should be that team match between Live Sandbox and MIRAEN and SEJONG.
Yeah, this one's going to be on Wednesday, 6 p.m. So the final playoff match before we go into the finals. So this one is going to be big, and then we'll of course have the solo finals, and then the team match finals will be on December 9th. So mark your calendars, keep it as you expect, right? We are still doing Wednesdays and Saturdays, but just make sure you put those dates in your calendar. You do not want to miss these. It is going to be more good kart rider action. Today really delivered, but I think we've got even better in store.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks close and close every time now as we narrow it down to the final players, the final team. So curious to see how everyone is going to improve. Well, that wraps it up for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining myself and Wolf. And we'll see you next week on Wednesday to see who rises up to face Guangdong Freaks between Live Sandbox and MIRAEN and SEJONG.
Check if my name in your mouth, better add the respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck when I burn you like. This ain't a game, my aim is the throne. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone, throw it off of my brain and I'm back to the bone.